And is that everyone, Lori?
One more joining now.
Okay.
Okay, that looks like everyone.
Okay. Then welcome everyone to September 27th, 2023 meeting for Conservation Commission in Dover. We're opening up early this evening to just address 12 and 14 Miller Hill. Why don't we, Laura, if you can go ahead and read the governor's comment on Zoom meetings, please.
Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so by using Zoom video conferencing technology. To join the meeting by video using a computer or tablet, you may use the link listed on the agenda, which is posted on the website. You can join by phone, calling the number on the agenda and putting in the ID and passcode, and the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thank you. So just to encapsulate where we're at, we're reviewing the enforcement order that Janet had originally drawn up and then sent out to all the parties involved. And let's see, Janet, if you can, I thought it was very nicely written. Then I'm just looking over some of the red lines. Can you, is there anything you'd like to state prior to us touching base on the comments from the parties involved?
Just that this would be an amendment to the original order of conditions. The original enforcement order, which cited the violations and required a wetland delineation and a tree inventory, everything removed, and indicated that there would be a follow-up to an amendment to the enforcement order with regard to specific restoration plan requirements. And so that is where we are at. And because this involves 3 different properties, I think the commission at the last meeting thought it would be good to send this to the attorneys for the other properties, just to get their input, not that their comments are going to be binding, but that give them an opportunity for some feedback on the restoration order.
And I'm just pulling it up to review a little bit of it there. Okay, so now we're dealing with the enforcement order itself. What I noticed was, Jen, you mentioned that it's incorporating. It seemed like you added a couple, 2 additional properties to this, 10 and 22. Is that correct?
So those were, let's see, I think those were part of the original enforcement order or the findings. We can go over that in more detail. I think originally it wasn't clear the extent of the clearing. I will note there is 1 tree that was identified on the site plan on 10 Miller Hill Road. However, it is outside the buffer.
That's what was my understanding, right, relative to 10. And then 22 is I'm assuming that's to the right of 14, but is that several lots down, or where is 22?
So 22 is right next to 14. The numbers jump. 14 and then 22 is the next. And there is 1 tree. No, I'm sorry. 2 trees on that property, both in the buffer zone, that were removed. The stumps were identified, and one of the stumps actually is in the BVW.
Okay, and have you had any communication with the owner of 22?
No.
Okay. And I guess the start would be Peter Brooks, is these properties as you understand it as well, or is there anything to add relative to the properties covered there?
Well, I've seen the plan on 22. That was news to me. As far as 10 is concerned, we didn't see any disturbance on 10, at least not in your jurisdiction. I guess there is one tree. I didn't think any work was done over there, but it looks like there is one tree noted on the plan.
Okay. It's out of our jurisdiction, so it's really not for us to notify them, but it seems it would be a courtesy for your client to get in touch with them. Is that appropriate?
I will pass that along.
Okay. And then also with 22, have you, has your client been in touch with them at all?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm not sure.
Okay, then let's see. I think you should probably make an inquiry there. And Janet, given that you're seeing that actually in the BVW, should we notify 22 that this appears to be a violation?
Yes, I think the original enforcement order did include them, and then town council reduced the simplified the enforcement order. And so I guess that that was never sent out to them. Maybe Lori could confirm that. They were on the original enforcement order. So
do you know, Lori, if there was a mailing to them?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
but I'll check while you're talking.
Yeah, I think if not, I think it's obviously the fair thing to do is to bring them into the conversation, even if it doesn't appear to be that much of an incursion there. It still is, especially if they have a tree in the buffer in the wetland itself. As we proceed there, I guess the thing we'd like to do is probably have each party bring up. Well, actually, before we get there, has each party sent their comments to the other?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Okay. Then why don't we do this? Why don't we starting with just the way it is on my screen, why don't we, starting with Mr. Brooks, why don't we go over the comments that you had on yours?
Sure. So I didn't do a red line. I just put a couple of comments in the margin. I noted.
Okay, because I pulled up. Oh, I'm sorry. I pulled up the wrong one. So I see. Yeah, I pulled up the previous one, the other party's red line. Okay. Do you want to share your screen with that, or do you have that ability?
Well, I wouldn't know how to do that. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
But there's just a couple of comments that I can speak to.
Okay.
I pointed out what I thought was a lack of any disturbance on 10 Miller Hill. In paragraph 3, I didn't think we needed to secure approval from 10 Miller Hill, but I will check with my client to determine if he has been in communication with them. There's a provision in here that's been added by Farm Street for the commission to assert jurisdiction over the disturbance outside of the buffer zone. And there's a contention that there was some alteration of the BVW from work that was done outside the buffer zone, which I don't think is accurate, but we've agreed to allow the commission to assert jurisdiction over everything that was disturbed, whether within your jurisdiction or not. And we will do that by agreement. So I think doesn't really matter. The draft order proposes a biannual status report for 5 years on the progress of the restoration. I am told by my consultant that 3 years is typical. And we would propose that it be 3 years, and then the commission, if they are dissatisfied with the state of things at 3 years, can extend that for another year or two if you think it's necessary. But we didn't think going into this that 5 years of updating reports was necessary.
Okay. And that's something that will be discussed. I mean, part of this is the scale of this and the sheer number of plantings and the concern of having an adequate percentage of plantings to take. But I hear your question about 3 years versus 5, and it may be something that can be addressed moving forward as something contingent upon that. Anything else?
Yeah, the neighbors have proposed that there be a third-party reviewer for the commission, and they want to have input and consent to that third-party reviewer. And that would be at our expense. Our comment was that Paul McManus has been the consultant to the board on this so far. I think Paul is fully capable of reviewing the restoration plan, the implementation of that plan, and the progress of that implementation over the years to come. We're fine with Paul. But I just don't understand why we now have to bring in some other third-party reviewer and pay for that person. So that was our comment on that. And there was a requirement for up to 12 inches of organic topsoil for the restoration planting. My consultant thought 12 inches was an awful lot and might actually impede the restoration. It says up to 12 inches, so it doesn't say, must be 12 inches. But maybe that's something that we propose and the commission through Paul can weigh in on at the time. And that's all I had.
Okay, thanks. So that was a proposal from the folks at 36 et al.
I think it was in Janet's original draft, and it was slightly tweaked by Kate Carter for the trustees. And I'm just relaying what my consultant said, which was he thought 12 inches is a lot and might actually not be wise.
Okay. So Paul McManus, we had hired you in your third-party status to review the wetland delineation, but I don't believe we had hired you for the restoration process. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I believe Lori was talking to you about whether you had somebody on staff with a restoration certification.
I do have someone on staff. Scott Morrison in my office is a SERP.
Okay. I think by the end of tonight's meeting, as you see what's involved there, if you could put together a quote for us, since you already have been familiar with the site and you've been on there and you have the expertise in house, why don't you work that up for us, please?
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, for 3638 Farm, who would like to take the lead on that this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Kate Carter. I represent the trustees, but I will be presenting the combined comments from the trustees and the Rollins Soderholm parties. And I will I'll share my screen if that's possible. That has our red lines and also Mr. Brooks' marginal comments as well. So let me see if I can do that. Let's see. Have I properly shared the screen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Very good. So I'll move through, I'll pause on some of the redlined comments that I think require maybe a little bit more discussion. Others are fairly straightforward, but of course, if the commissioners have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So the first, I think, so as it relates to 10 Miller Hill Road, and particularly where it sounds as though the one tree is outside of the buffer zone, we certainly have no objection to the reference to 10 Miller Hill Road being removed throughout this memorandum and the amended enforcement order. On proposed new paragraph 2, the thought here, and one that I've discussed with Mr. Brooks, and I think Mr. Brooks agrees with in concept, is we're asking the commission to assert jurisdiction. We believe, or we have reason to believe, particularly given the slope of this property and the slope of the upland area in particular, as it meets with the resource areas below, that there is reason to believe that given the slope, the clear cutting of that area, that this is an alteration from a distance, that rainwater may collect materials, and that the activity in that area may very well have altered areas subject to protection under the Dover bylaw and the Act. If there's concern that that finding may not be in place, we agree with Mr. Brooks that jurisdiction can be asserted here by agreement. But certainly there is a benefit here to the commission asserting jurisdiction over areas outside of the resource areas that have been disturbed, so that there's a coordinated restoration effort. The same standards can be applied. There's consistency in approach and efficiency in the work. So that's our thought behind the request for extended jurisdiction.
So Kate, let me just, what I'm hearing is agreement on paragraph 2, in essence, by both parties. Is that correct, Mr. Brooks?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I just didn't think that the finding is warranted. There's no evidence of that, of any disturbance of BVW from work done outside of BVW. So a statement that the commission asserts jurisdiction by agreement of the parties, that's satisfactory. That's fine.
Okay. And Kate, what do you have an idea outside the buffer what sort of linear footage extension we're looking at? I don't have the plan up in front of me.
I do not either. Sally, you are far more conversant on the specific dimensions here.
And I'll see
Let
if I
me
can
look at that plan and I'll let Kate keep going and I'll report back to you on that.
And then just as an aside, does anyone have the total acreage of the
Disturbance?
the Farm Street property?
The
Of the
total
in-
acreage of the lot itself or the disturbed
The
area?
lot itself.
I believe 36 acres.
So just as an aside, perhaps, John, that we need to also look at that in the large lot piece as well.
In what way?
Not a
Jim?
development,
No, but it applies regardless, doesn't it?
no.
No, I don't. I think that's respectfully. I think that's a little bit of a reach and probably unnecessary in terms of doubling up setbacks and things of that sort. Is that where you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think if the parties are agreeing to us to have some oversight on this, I don't see a reason to pull that in. I think that's makes it a little bit more questionable. Let me just see if I can pull up the plan here. I just pulled up the wetland restoration.
So John,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the plan, so I could provide the numbers.
Oh,
People are-
great. Okay, thank you.
So on 3638, the total disturbance within the buffer is 9,227 square feet. if you look at the disturbance outside the buffer, it would be at least 3 times that, approximately 3 times that.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's
Uh.
significant. And then on 12 Miller Hill, disturbance in the buffer is over 20,000 square feet. And most all of that is in the buffer. There's about another 5,000 square feet maybe outside the buffer. And
Okay.
then on 14 Miller, almost all of it's within the buffer. So clearly the amount of work outside the buffer, the largest area is certainly on 3638 Farm.
Yeah, I would guess just by looking at circles, it's a 75-25, if not an 80-20 mix, would you say?
Yeah, that sounds about.
Yeah. So, okay, then I think that makes sense to have, and I agree with the slopes. I also agree that Mr. Brooks' concern about wording is also appropriate. That way it doesn't, it's not a statement of fact that and it's mutually agreed upon, so that we don't have to get into the weeds about whether it created downhill gradient issues or not, if everyone is agreeing on us to coordinate this in its totality.
Provided the commission is comfortable with that as well, I don't think that we have any objection to that.
Yeah, I'll just, since we're going through this, are there any commissioners who would not want to have oversight there? Okay, then carry on, Kate.
Very good. So continuing on, I think that our next most substantive point to discuss, the others are you know copies to the trustees, they're self-explanatory. It relates, so we had deleted paragraph 8, which was, oh, before that, let me get back. I skipped over under paragraph 5. As it relates, I think, to the final bullet point and Mr. Brooks' comments about the 5 years, 5 years versus 3 years. So I think that Mr. Brooks had said that, in his consultant had commented that it's typical for a 3-year monitoring period. I think that as you noted, Mr. Chairman, that this is an atypical clearing given the size and scope, given the slope of the property, given the nature of the upland, the forested, the previously dense forest land. And in fact, our consultant has recommended that really 5 years is the minimum. It's 5 years maintenance. And then annual monitoring up to 10 years is really optimal to ensure that the restoration has taken hold, and to guard against things like tree health and disease, problems with drought conditions, problems with deer and vole or herbivory, problems with weed maintenance. Though, given sort of the goal and intent of the restoration plan and the plan to reestablish what was a mature dense forest, there's a heightened need for longer term oversight beyond the 5 years of active maintenance that we would propose. One thought, particularly if the commission intends to assert jurisdiction over the upland area in addition to the buffer zone and resource areas, is that there could be a lesser standard or a different time standard for maintenance and observation in that area, different in kind than what's being applied to the upland area, if that's, you know, an approach that's more palatable to the commission and to Mr. Brooks and his client. But those are our thoughts on the timing piece of this.
Okay. It's one of the questions I have let's see, I'm just writing a note to myself, is our standards, and Janet, help me out on this. So one of our standards here, the concern we have is that there were so many mature trees here, of considerable size,
Mhm.
that trying to meet our standards within the buffer of the number of basal inches and planting with, in essence, 2-inch trees, and have them spaced appropriately,
It might not be,
is going to be difficult.
right?
And Janet, in a situation like this, would this be a 1-to-1 in the buffer? Would it be a 1.5 to 1? What's it's not the BV, except for some of the BVW ones, but the majority are in the buffer. What's your take on that?
So that's an area that's really discretionary to the commission.
Mhm.
We have, the WPA is a 1-to-1 for replication.
Mhm.
This is not replication. And again, under our bylaw regs, it's a 2-for-1. No, it's a 1-to-1.5. But again,
Yeah.
that's replication. So this really is what the commission feels is appropriate to the site. And it's up to your full discretion here.
And one of the, and this is will I believe come up and be addressed by what may end up being 3 experts on this, but in that situation within the buffer, we also call for, if you can't meet that inch to inch or 1.5 to 1, and we'll decide moving forward which it will be, is that it accommodates planting on property outside of this.
Yes.
And then we also then have to look at whether or not we have appropriate property, because we have the property that we do have, we have actually been mowing, and large field expanses and views and birds and so forth, and we don't want to have to change that. So we then may be reviewing monetary issues relative to that. And that's all. We're not going to decide that tonight, because we need these presentations going forward. But just to outline that these are some of the things that I expect we're going to encounter.
Our group has been giving some thought to that. I know that Janet has raised that question in prior hearings, and so our group has given some thought, but we reserve sort of an articulation of any sort of position until the time that there's a restoration plan that we should be reviewing and commenting. But yes, we will continue to ponder that and think about what could be a resolution of that issue.
Yeah, and I was, as I reading a little and thinking about this, there may be, and this is something you can bring back to your SERPs, I guess it is, that maybe things get planted a little closer than normally expected, so that to see what survives and what gets culled. And that may be a way to ensure better health of the remaining trees. So these are things that we'll be struggling with as we move forward on this, because it really is unprecedented.
And I see how that then ties into your comments about the necessary duration of maintenance. If it's going to be a closer planting than would ordinarily be, that might warrant a greater degree of maintenance, a longer term maintenance, in order to ensure that trees are taking root, thriving, etc.
So yeah, so what I'm hearing is TTOR et al. We're asking for a 5-year minimum, and Attorney Brooks, representing his clients, is asking for the standard 3 with the ability to extend if necessary. Do I have that right on both sides?
I think that's right.
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Oh, okay. So I think we will wait with bated breath to see what the experts say on this. Okay, why don't we continue through? Thanks.
So we struck paragraph 8 and
because of the incorporation.
Exactly, on the assumption that the Conservation Commission would be asserting jurisdiction over all disturbed areas, then this paragraph seemed unnecessary.
Mhm.
So on the SERP issue and who is the right person, certainly the trustees have no objection to Mr. McManus, but they also work with a variety of SERPs who have who know and are familiar with the trustees' particular interests as it relates to its conserved land, the conservation values that it intends to protect, the standards that it follows in order to do so. And so that is why in paragraph 9, and I'm not sure I'm there quite yet, we had suggested, let me make sure I have this.
That's nine.
Yes, here we are. This is why we had suggested having some input on the selection of any third-party reviewer for the preparation of both the restoration plan and the implementation of that restoration plan. Again, another idea in terms of we understand Mr. Brooks and his clients' concern about not paying for duplicative work. That makes sense, and that we understand that. And so one thought is, again, where there may be a third-party reviewer that is familiar, Mr. McManus has familiarity with the site, with the town of Dover, with the commission's interests, and that might be a scope that relates to, again, the buffer zone and resource areas that are impacted and would be subject to the restoration plan. And perhaps there's a way then to sort of allocate review of the restoration plan and work at an implementation for the upland portion that's subject to the trustees CR in a way that minimizes inefficiencies and avoids overlap. So again, that's the interest that the trustees and the Rollins and Sutter Homes are trying to advance by suggesting having some input on a SERP who would be providing the third-party review here.
So I guess, and maybe I was making an assumption here. So in some of the earlier documents, Mr. Brooks' client, they had presented sort of a very sort of a draft of restoration, at which point TTOR et al. Took the person who was cited most in that draft and had him review things and point out some gaps there. I was under the impression that both parties were looking at hiring their own SERPs to come up with, in essence, competing plans, and that our third party would act as the moderator on that and reviewing that. Is that, did I miss something there, or is that, I mean, that's, and there are other ways to do this, so I'm
Sure.
just.
So I mean, in an ideal world, we had prepared a proposal by Wilkinson Ecological and shared that with Mr. Brooks and his client. And we had suggested hire Wilkinson, and Mr. Brooks, said no, that we're going to hire somebody on our own. And I understand that. The retaining of someone to go through the cost and exercise associated with preparing design documents, et cetera, and the detailed narrative and associated graphic plans for a restoration plan. I don't know that we will be commissioning our own to have competing, but rather having somebody who would be reviewing and commenting so that we can provide informed comments to the commission at the time that they are reviewing the restoration plan that's being submitted to the Conservation Commission. We certainly have been working with such professionals in providing comments here in terms of what the framework is and what the ground rules are for the preparation of the restoration plan. But I don't know that we contemplated having our own competing restoration plan.
So that the possibility exists that Ms. Brooks would come out with a revised restoration plan. You would use your folks to review it, as opposed to having to be all in on actually coming up with their own. And we would also have our, Ecotech reviewing that as well. Does that sound like a more likely scenario?
Yes, I think so. And then the condition as it relates here, as we understand it, it's an additional condition that might be imposed by that the commission reserved the right to impose after the restoration plan had been submitted and prior to implementation. And one of the possible conditions listed here in Janet's memo was the hiring of a third-party reviewer, specifically, I think, for the implementation piece. And again, that's what the trustees and the Rollins had always anticipated, is that there would be somebody, if Wilkinson's not doing the work, that we would want somebody to ensure that the work was done to our satisfaction, certainly in compliance with the restoration plan. Mr. Brooks, again, reasonably said, hey, we don't want to play for two people, which is why we've suggested having some insight and input on who that is going to be if the commission chooses to hire a third-party reviewer for the installation piece.
Mm-hmm. And well, first, we're not hiring Ecotech until we get a quote, obviously,
Of course, yeah.
and an outline of qualifications and the like. It would seem that, but Ecotech is very highly regarded in the state, and it would seem that would be appropriate. And then at that point, your reviewer could bring up specific instances if there were things that they thought were not addressed. Does that make sense?
Yes, as it relates to the review of the restoration plan, yes.
But on us, are you looking at to be able to have a thumbs up, a thumbs down on Ecotech if they were the ones, or?
Well, I think that, again, we would love to have some say in the selection, particularly as it relates to the installation and the implementation of the restoration plan on the upland piece. If that's not what the commission decides, then that's okay, and we'll proceed as
So if I can just interrupt a little bit. So when you mentioned about the installation, so is that taking it beyond review and then having some input on the actual installers?
No, but monitoring during the work, while the work is being done, on site occasionally at a agreed to frequency, obviously not every day, they don't need to be there every day, but monitoring and making sure that the work is being done as agreed to under the restoration plan and as agreed to by the commission.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we would, if we were to move forward, whoever we have as our third-party reviewer, that would incorporate that component of things. It may be set up as an addendum, since we don't know the scope right at the moment. So I think that's the way. And as we've been doing here, it took it was a few hiccups, but all parties are communicating with each other. So I think that everyone's trying to keep this open, and I think that's where we will probably, that's the direction we will be going, as we've just outlined at this point. But we'll, this is the public component. Then we'll be reviewing this relative to tightening up the enforcement order itself, and or this particular amendment to it or addendum, and then there may be others in the future.
Understood. And then just finally, as to Mr. Brooks' comment on the 12 inches of topsoil, we had tweaked. So I think as originally drafted, and again, I think this is a additional, it's a possible additional condition to the enforcement order. I think as originally drafted, it said that the restoration plan shall be amended with 12 inches. I think we tried to sort of change that language slightly, because I think the input that we're getting as well from our own consultants is consistent with what Mr. Brooks shared, that it may not necessarily be the case that 12 inches is necessary in all portions of the disturbed area. There may be locations where it is. locations where a different amount of topsoil may need to be added, locations where there may be no need for additional topsoil. And that's why we've said up to 12 inches and added that language that whatever amount of topsoil is to be added, it should be informed by the professional who's preparing the design documents and coordinating the implementation.
So I'm thinking something along the idea of outlining that attention shall be paid to augmenting existing topsoil in order to ensure proper growth. In that, you know, and that would be attention shall be paid by the restorer, and then that will come up as part of the SERP as they review that, because it seems to me, like you mentioned, in order for those trees to have grown, they probably created a bunch of topsoil over the years. They didn't go in and strip the land, as far as we can tell. And 12 inches is generally excessive. So I think we can just call it out so that we make sure there's adequate attention paid to that.
Right.
Does that, Mr. Brooks, how does that sound?
That sounds fine. Thank you.
Okay.
John, this is Paul McManus. I was going to raise this issue myself. I think that's a good approach. I mean, just you know, call it out as something to be specifically evaluated in the preparation of the restoration plan. You know, perhaps I would suggest the restoration plan should establish you know, criteria for you know, for when and if topsoil is added, but I think mandating anything is not appropriate.
And I would expect for those recommendations also deal directly with root balls and the actual planting, because their augmenting soil is good practice. And then I think outside of that, and you're dealing primarily with adequate soil for the understory plantings. And,
Right.
you know, will become more important.
Right. Now that would certainly all be appropriate to be detailed in the restoration plan.
Okay. And Mr. Brooks, are you still proposing to use the previous the first person you had who did your restoration plan, or where are you looking currently for that?
Yeah, so Goddard Consulting, Steve Ribery, who's a SERP out there. I think Goddard has some experience in Dover, from what I understand. So they have been engaged to do the restoration plan and to oversee the implementation of that plan.
Okay. And were some of the comments passed on to them from the previous iteration there?
Well, I never saw the comments. That was one of those ex parte communications. I, to this day, have not seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they're fascinating reading. Let's see. So could whoever's, Kate, if you could pass that on and get those comments.
I sent a copy after the commission to Peter, but I can resend it to him again.
Yeah, please, because I think that was very helpful in calling out some of the gaps there, and so passing that on to Goddard will at least establish a base or helpful, you know, to review that. Okay. And Paul, did you get a copy of that? Do you recall? Were you involved in that at that point?
I was not really involved in that.
Okay.
My really only involvement to this point has been delineation review.
Okay, then we'll Lori, if you could send that out to Paul and any other pertinent information relative to restoration that's come in before.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so where we're looking at Peter Brooks, what's now that you've engaged Goddard, have they given you a time frame for their plan or their first iteration?
Yeah, Steve said 4 to 6 weeks
And was that from 2 weeks ago, or is that when was that?
from when the order issues, he'll get going.
Oh, okay, well, the original enforcement order was issued, a while ago. So this is just an amendment moving forward. The first one said, outlined the research necessary and the wetland delineation. And so I would Janet and Lori, based on what we're hearing tonight, how much time would be necessary to amend the this amendment for the enforcement order before we have a chance to send it out?
So it's my thought, we've missed the growing season. There's not going to be any planting until the spring.
No,
My
we had mentioned at the previous meetings that we're looking at spring as the main planting
think
season.
with these changes, what I would suggest, I've made good notes here, but I would suggest a second reading of this before it's finally voted on, so that we can continue this cooperative effort here and everyone's on the same page. So that I will incorporate what I heard that seemed to be everyone was in agreement, and then have one last pass at the next meeting. I do have a quick question to clarify with Attorney Brooks on the issue on comment 2. So your comment, there's no evidence of alteration in BVW from activities on 36 Farm, but 12 Miller Hill will voluntarily consent to the Concom's jurisdiction. Are you also agreeing to voluntarily consent to address alteration outside the buffer zone at 12 and 14 Miller Hill? You only mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the other point of clarification, and I'll work on this language that was brought up with regard to asserting jurisdiction under the WPA regs at 10.022D. I will work on some language that we can review at the next meeting. I did attend a DEP wetlands workshop today, and this specific question came up. What does this section actually mean for the commission's jurisdiction? The language is fairly clear that unless and until an activity actually alters an area subject to protection, then the commission does not have authority to act. But I think
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Janet, go ahead.
But because we have voluntary compliance being offered here, I don't think that's a particular issue, but I would like to have some language in our enforcement order. And I've been told by Alicia Gellin at DEP that this includes the buffer zone. So it's any activity altering the buffer zone or a resource area. So that expands actually what I had thought the application was here. So if an area is outside the buffer zone, but if we can show there's erosion, sedimentation, other issues, even 1 foot into the buffer, we could assert jurisdiction.
Well, why don't you review that, but also in light of the fact that we've, in essence, have been asked by all parties to coordinate this. Keep that in mind relative to that. So I think that may make that a little easier lift there. Okay. I think, Peter, if you could, there's no question this will be coming out. If you can prep Goddard to start looking at things moving forward, sooner than those 2 weeks.
Yeah, I have a good idea what the final order is going to look like, and I can now tell them, what to do and to get going.
Okay, appreciate that. Let's see. So from TTOR or 36 Farm Street, are there any other comments?
No other
Yes.
comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, but this has been really instructive, and I appreciate the cooperation everyone is showing so that we can do this correctly. Let's see, will we have anything to show? Does anyone expect anything to show at our next meeting 2 weeks from now? Since this is being covered under an enforcement order, we don't have to formally continue things. So it seems to me that what we'll do is, if we do get information that we think warrants another meeting, I think we'll contact the parties. But I think right at this moment we'll be waiting for both Janet and Mr. Brooks will be looking at moving forward on their respective responsibilities. Janet?
Just to clarify, so what I would recommend is that I will go and make the revisions discussed and apparently agreed. There was general agreement on some of these. And then, but I'm not comfortable recommending to the commission to vote on this until they see a clean copy with incorporating the different comments. So I'd recommend at our next meeting, the commission vote to approve.
Well, I think part of that is when you come up with that clean copy, typically, well, I think, well, 2 points of view. One is that would be sent out to the other parties just for a last review.
Yes.
And then if we can do all that, prior to the next meeting, then we will have something that we can vote on. I'm not sure if, communication wise, whether or not that will take place or not. If that will happen.
I think that's doable. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's continue things to the next meeting. And we can always continue that if we can't pull it all together in the next 10 days or so. Does that seem fair?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. And we will move on with the rest of our regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night. Okay. Next, we have a number of items on the agenda that have been continued. So if anyone is here for the ANRAD hearing for Junction Street and Pulte Homes, I think we're where do we stand on that? We don't go ahead, Paul.
John, Rich Kirby and I have coordinated to be on site next Tuesday morning to do a flag by flag review of the wetland boundaries. So that's where it's at.
Okay. And we were asked by a neighborhood group, and I don't know how many neighborhood groups there may be on this, whether we, the Conservation Commission, would allow their expert to join you on that meeting. And our response was that you're our expert, so we're not communicating anything regarding anyone else. That would be between a neighborhood group and Pulte as representatives for the owner directly on that. So I don't know where that stands, but we frankly are agnostic on that.
I've been informed that the owner has not granted such permission for anyone else to participate. So it will be just myself and Mr. Kirby.
Okay. And what we did let people know was that we will disseminate your report when you give it to us, and maintain that openness there. And also to just let folks know that there are extensive wetlands here. We don't know what Pulte is thinking of proposing. I think based on they're going to be moving ahead step by step on this. So I just want to address that. We have a continuation for 15 Wilsondale. We have a continuation for 28 Miller Hill. We have a continuation for another 28 Miller Hill. And we have a continuation for 9 Old Meadow Road. Most of these were things such as a single family home, pool, patios, things of that nature. One of the things I did want to, so then what we've had an emergency request for a review for a well, and actually I didn't get that. What's at 6 Collins Street? I don't know if commissioners had a chance to review that or see any of that come in. So apparently, and is Artie here? I'm looking through. There he is.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, and so let me just kind of preface this and get what I understood was the well was dying, so they asked for a I figured it sounds like in conjunction with reviewing things with you, they set up an RDA to cover that, and that in the intervening time the well has actually run dry. Is that correct, or virtually dry?
The homeowners, they are on the Zoom call and they can speak of that. I was informed by Lori that that's what has happened. We were planning to come in front of the commission on the 11th. We have notified the abutters for the RDA. I did talk to the owners after I spoke with Lori, and he confirmed that since the wife had recently a surgery and they needed some water, and it appears that they are getting less and less water from the well, and they would love for the possibility that the commission would consider this as an emergency and allow them to move forward with a project at their own risk, with the understanding that we will install the erosion control barrier, try to have the well driller guy come at the site as soon as possible. And on the next meeting on the 11th, we'll report to the commission the progress, and at the same time, respond to any comments that the board might have or the neighbors might have.
Okay, and okay, there we are. Can you identify? All I see is JD 6725.
Yeah.
Could you?
I'm Beverly Diamond, and this is my husband, John Diamond.
And as of right now, we have no water at all. Our neighbors, the Hagans, are letting us use their water. So we go over there and fill up gallon containers and come back and empty it into our toilet bowl.
We don't have a toilet
very,
either. We have absolutely dry nothing. So it's very much an inconvenience. And I just had surgery. It's terrible.
Okay,
So-
thank you. And are there any neighbors who are on today's call at all? Okay. So I had Janet, and I don't know if commissioners had a chance to review this. So Janet pulled up wording that basically makes it seem like an emergency RDA is not something that exists. It can exist for public purposes, but not private purposes. And my review of this, and I don't know how many else people here have had, water disappear from time to time, and it is quite a, more of a hardship, I think, than you originally anticipate. And I am wondering if this could be handled as a type of enforcement order, instead of and maybe with the RDA to come after the fact. And the reason I'm saying this, in reviewing the plan, this is a small lot. This is virtually a quarter-acre lot. My initial question, thanks, Artie. My initial question, Artie, when if you zoom in a little bit, so you see you'd mentioned a 90-foot to proposed well. And I initially took that 90-foot to meaning it was stopping at the stairs there, and then realized that it actually would go all the way through the house and go to the proposed well. And it was it's off by a few angles, degrees there or something. So just to let everybody and I'm pulling on my builder's hat here for a little bit as well. This is 10,000 square feet. In order to be 100 feet away from the septic system, this is really the only place it can go. There's no other place on the lot where you can be 100 feet away from the septic system. There's an existing well it's sitting there on disturbed ground that's both driveway and lawn. And there's just no other places it's going. The ground is flat. The erosion control seems to be appropriate for the typical, couple of day, well installation. They have access via a driveway, which is excellent. So going through an RDA and making somebody wait for several weeks when things have actually run dry, just seems an unnecessary hardship. And even though an emergency RDA may not be the appropriate way to go, and I'm talking, Janet, from the research you did, would an enforcement order, because of the public health for the homeowner, would that be an appropriate way?
So, no, an enforcement order, because there's been no violation here. So that really would be appropriate. We have a pending application. And again, I certainly sympathize. This is like the worst case scenario for a homeowner. But I just want to advise you of my understanding of the regulations. So this wouldn't be an emergency RDA. It would have to, the only option would be an emergency certification from us. And I did talk to the DEP circuit rider, Alicia Gellin, today specifically on this. And she said that no, a private well does not fall under the ability to do that. And in fact, the emergency certification form that the commission would have to vote and issue has a line that says public agency to perform work or public agency ordering the work to be performed. So that's one of the identification criteria that you would have to certify to.
So would we be the public agency ordering the work to be done? Or would that be Board of Health?
No. So if you look at the WPA regs, it's a public agency of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Like DEP, if this was like a 21E spill, or if there was something that was requiring them to take immediate emergency action to protect public health and safety. The only other example she gave that she was aware of was if you have a septic system and the tank is overflowing and there is sewage actually, contaminating the groundwater and the surface. That would be an emergency situation. But just because a well or a septic system is not currently working does not meet the criteria of an emergency.
Okay.
So,
can I ask?
Hold on. Let Janet finish because she was going somewhere.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find a way that the commission can approve this and still be, following the requirements. I suppose pending the RDA, and I see no issues with approving the RDA on October 11th. Perhaps given the fact that you've seen the site plan. I have not done a site inspection yet because this only came up yesterday. But perhaps given the circumstances and that there's an RDA pending, that you could go ahead and allow them to proceed to schedule the work, but that the work wouldn't take place until after the 11th. I just wonder something.
Okay, so there's the official concept. My view is that we're a community here. Artie, have you encountered this before elsewhere or in this town?
This situation, we are trying to do the right thing. As far as the filing, we did the filing last week so that we are in compliance with the requirement to file in advance. We were not prepared to come on this meeting today on Wednesday. We were planning on coming on the 11th. This is an unfortunate situation, but what I am hoping that the commission would allow is as long as the commission is comfortable to instruct the Board of Health to move forward with a project, with the understanding that we have the meeting on the 11th. That way the Board of Health will issue the permit to go ahead and drill this well. You know, it's gonna be at the owner's risk that if it is that we install this well in advance of the meeting, then we move forward with that risk in mind. And then on the 11th, if it is that we already have drilled, and because physically there is no other location where you can put this. You see what I'm saying? We already met on site with Jason, and even so one of the things that needs to happen on the ground is that when the well contractor comes on the site, he's going to have to identify exactly where the existing well is. We know roughly where it is because it's all covered and you can't find it with a metal detector. So it's going to be some exploratory time that the well contractor will need to spend. And it might be that, you know, they are not able to actually drill until the 11th. But if it is that they can drill at their own risk a few days before or a week before, I think it's harmless, and I don't see a way that this is putting the Conservation Commission on any risk when we're saying that, you know, we're moving forward at our own risk. We just don't want to just, you know, do it without asking for permission, that's all. So it might not be an official, yes, we're granting you the RDA. We are not avoiding having to come to the meeting, but because of unique situation, if everyone is on the same page on saying, well, since you guys are moving forward and the unique position that you are in, we'll let you move forward, but still have to come on the 11th and get the proper approval to move forward. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't think the whole work will be done before the 11th. They will still have to do some kind of
It will
work.
depend. I don't know if the well driller is waiting or if they're what their time frame is as well.
Well, the standard response is I'll be there right away. And once you have the permit at hand, then it takes a little bit longer than right away.
Okay. So I think the net effect of this may be just a matter of a few days overlap relative to the meeting versus this. If we wait another 2 weeks for the meeting, then we're looking at another week or 2 weeks after that, that most likely there's a very good chance that this drilling itself wouldn't even take place until the meeting or right thereabouts. So I am perfectly okay to have the weight of DEP come down on us if we blow it by 3 days. You know, because I just think, you know, this is one of those things of officiousness and, you know, bureaucracy that I think if we have the ability to recognize that it's not in the best interest, and also the fact that as we've outlined everything, this isn't like somebody who's trying to do something on a undeveloped lot or any of that sort. There's only one place for this to go. Is it currently a shallow well? Do you know?
I don't know the conditions of the well. When the septic system was approved, they approximately knew where the well was. This is like 10, 15 years ago. So they got an approval for the septic system to be installed on the location that is shown, being 90 feet away plus or minus. So what we are saying is we're going to try to be in compliance with the regulations by saying 10 feet away from the building. Not exactly the overhang, because to the overhang will be 8.8 feet, but from the building itself, we're trying to stay 10 feet. So trying to make everything work, you know. We don't get 100 feet. We're still going to be roughly 90 feet away. But
but Board of Health has granted that. Is that correct?
Jason is comfortable. I have an email from him saying that he's comfortable in issuing the permit subject to conservation giving him the green light. It doesn't have to be something official, even if it's something that Janet communicates that yes, you can issue the permit because they are coming on the 11th and you don't have to wait for the 11th. You know, that way the wheels can start moving because the well installer cannot do anything without that permit from Board of Health.
Right. So and I'm thinking aloud here. My sense here is to propose to the commission that we have a
finding, however you want to say it.
Yeah, that we have a finding that for an emergency circumstance for health reasons to allow this the scheduling of this well to proceed and have it have it dug or drilled prior to the next meeting if that happens, but then to proceed with the RDA at the next meeting.
Yes.
So does commissioners, does anyone have any input on that?
Yeah, I think that it would be terrible to not let this happen.
No, this is such a de minimis.
I agree.
And,
I agree.
yeah, and I guess, you know, part of it, as Tim brings up frequently, you know, usually post facto, which is, would we have allowed it? And, you know, based on presented, you know, it does appear that way, unless, you know, we find that there's a 18-foot drop between the house and the proposed well. So, so I'll entertain a motion.
Paul has a comment.
Paul? Yep.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think it doesn't seem like you need to, and that's fine, but I think you could issue an emergency cert with the, if Board of Health were to, as a, you know, Town of Dover is a subdivision of the Commonwealth. I think if the Board of Health were to decide, you would be on very solid that it were an emergency for, you know, for the health and protection of citizens of the Commonwealth, which is who we're talking about here. That I think you could. I'm going to disagree with Janet and perhaps even what she heard from DEP. I think you could do that. I think the Board of Health is authorized to be that agency. But it sounds like you're not even going to necessarily need to rest on the formality. So that's fine.
Well, no, I have no problem covering our behinds, resting, you know, creating a formality which I was looking for, and I think that's helpful. The wording is kind of, you know, the idea of who the agency would be, and Janet is saying that it's a state, and I'm thinking that similar along your lines, that boards of health are in essence eventually tied in with the state. So I think we would make this we would grant the ability to drill this well prior to the public hearing at their risk with the approval of the Board of Health. And I would, if anybody wants to, so move.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, can I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Artie, if you can take your plan
Thank
down
you.
so I can see everyone. Okay, Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Jim, are you on? I don't know if he's probably in transit, and I'm an aye as well. Oh, and actually, Amara, are you sworn in now?
Yes.
This could be your first vote.
Yeah.
You want to throw a wrench in the works, or?
Oh, gee.
Aye.
Okay.
To be the
And I'm
first.
an aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No worries.
So, okay, then we're all set. So let's make it happen. Lori and Janet, please. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome and best
You're
of
so
luck.
Oh,
welcome.
yeah,
Thank
Okay,
you.
good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
sucks.
Okay. Let's see. So then moving on, we're looking at a request for minor modifications on 21 Old Farm. Was that one of the ones that's continued, or?
No.
No. Oh, I saw Paul's head there. Yeah, so I figured that's the only reason he's here. Paul McGovern. So what do Janet, why don't you fill us in?
Sure. So Paul McGovern, the previous owner and builder on this home, is requesting this minor modification for the new owners.
Mhm.
Very straightforward. Currently, the driveway, which is approximately 60 feet from the buffer zone, is a gravel driveway. The homeowners said for convenience and safety, they have young children, they would like to install a asphalt driveway. I see no issues here. Very level lot. They still have their erosion control in. So I would recommend approving the modification. The only hiccup is that we do require the deed restriction language when ownership transfers. I've sent that to Paul. He's working with the homeowner's attorneys. I would recommend that the commission go ahead and vote to approve the minor modification, but that it not be issued until we have the recorded deed restriction in hand.
Okay. And anything to add, Paul?
Hello, everybody. Back again. No, nothing to add. The homeowners, basically, we as the builder on the house thought the gravel driveway would be nice. The couple who purchased the house off us are a young couple. They have a baby, maybe 3-4 months old, is their first kid, and there's no other access to the house. There's no path up to it or anything like that. So they're trying to wheel a stroller across the gravel driveway. Also, the homeowner's granddad, who's in his 80s, they've informed me he has struggled. He's on a walker. They've had to more or less carry him into the house as well. So it's just the inconvenience of the gravel, and they're concerned that it'll get kind of plowed up in the winter and stuff like that as well. So they have requested to just very simply asphalt it over. There's no change in the area, no change in the location, nothing other than that. I can show, only the screen share, I can just show a photograph of it if people want to see it.
I don't
Sure.
think we even have to.
Yeah, I think no, we've seen this in other places in town.
Yeah,
so
we typically have preferred paved driveways anyway.
yeah, so we found that
Yep. Is there.
oh, is that so that's crushed stone basically, or
It's
is
gravel.
that yeah, so it looks almost like a sealed mix. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no problem.
and where's the wetlands from here? What direction was that?
Sorry, so the whole house basically, I was back before you guys when we were doing the work on this. The whole house basically is in the wetlands is 1 second. The whole house is in the buffer zone. The actual wetlands are as close to the house as back here. This is conservation. This is conservation land.
I see.
Behind,
Yep.
behind.
Okay. Fine. Then thank you. Let's see. So this minor modification, is that part of a public hearing that needs to be closed, or is
I
it?
don't think so.
I didn't think so either. So we don't have to close the hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, move to grant the minor modification.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Sarah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amra?
Aye.
Amy? And myself is an aye. Okay. Proceed. Let's see. Next is 125 Claybrook Road. We're for COCs. Janet, why don't you fill us in on this, please?
Sure. So this is the property owned by Ted Ladd. In the past, they have implemented an aquatic vegetative invasive species plan. The previous order of conditions expired, so they have filed a new one. In the course of doing that, they submitted requests for COCs for two, one quite old, one a little bit less old. I recommend that they both be approved. The order of condition 783 did have our standard 4 continuing permanent conditions. So I'd recommend you vote on each separately, and then the 783 should reference the 4 continuing conditions.
Okey-doke. Then I will entertain a motion for 485.
Move to grant a certificate of compliance for 144-485 at 125 Claybrook Road.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amara,
Aye.
Amara? Help me out there.
Amara.
Amara, thank you. And
Aye.
myself, aye. Okay. And next for 783.
Yes, move to issue a certificate of compliance for 144-783 at 125 Claybrook Road, and pointing out that there are 4 conditions associated with this certificate of compliance.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Amara,
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Anna, John, aye. Okay. And okay, then we're looking at notice of intent. Did a number come in for 125 Claybrook Road for the vegetative management?
I did not
No.
see.
Okay. So do we want to continue this, or is there, Jenna, what's your sense on discussion?
We should go ahead and open the hearing. We just can't close and vote.
Okay.
But we have 2 professionals here who submitted a really top-notch notice of intent as an ecological restoration limited project. So I'd recommend that they make their presentation and then the commission ask questions, and then we will need to continue.
Okay, then and who is that representative?
Hi, good evening all. I'm Stacy Minahan with Beals and Thomas. I'm a professional wetland scientist and principal at the firm, and I'm here with Jackie Boyer, who assisted in pulling the notice of intent together, as well as Ted Ladd, the property owner and applicant who has been undertaking this aquatic vegetation management for, I think, 40 years plus at this point.
And that's why the Charles River is so clean.
Right. It's a huge benefit. So I'm happy to give my overview and share my screen if that's acceptable to the board.
Please.
All right. So I just want to make sure. I think if I do it this way, I'll be able to scroll between the various documents, but if you can't see my screen, please let me know. So this notice of intent, as Janet mentioned, is for an ecological restoration limited project for management of aquatic vegetation. It's actually within Trout Brook, right adjacent to the Charles River. It's a tributary to the Charles. There's various nuisance vegetation that's been being managed, water lily, fanworts, milfoil, and the site itself is located in this area of Dover, just to orient the town near the town, and to orient the commission near the town line. And this is the property with Trout Brook and the Charles. So as I mentioned, the management has been going on for decades. It's an advantageous restoration project. In this image, which was included in our filing, you can see the buildup of the aquatic vegetation in Trout Brook, and this is showing also the proposed management area. As I'm sure the commission knows, Trout Brook supports obviously habitat, but also recreational activities as well. Solitude Lake Management is who has been undertaking the vegetation management. They use a mechanical hydro rake equipment to remove the vegetation without chemicals or herbicides. That process takes about 2 days, and they do it once a year to maintain an open water body. So the hydro rake itself will be deployed at the public boat launch off Riverside Drive, and it'll travel to the site via the river. Once, as it's going along Trout Brook and pulling the weeds, the plants are placed in the bucket of a loader that will be positioned on the shoreline. And then that loader will transport the plant material, excuse me, the plant material to another portion of Mr. Ladd's property to de-water. We did speak with Janet about this. As you can imagine, being on the Charles and Trout Brook, much of the property is in riverfront area. But we spoke with Janet about trying to keep, so this shows an approximate 200-foot riverfront area. We spoke with Janet about trying to keep that dewatering outside of 150 feet away from the river. So still a good distance and in a, lawn area or existing disturbed area. The loader, when it is transferring the vegetation, will be placed on either a rubber mat or plywood, just to have some stability and so as not to erode the shoreline. And then there will also be erosion control at the low points down gradient from the dewatering area. We do have 2 waiver requests as part of this filing. There is a 50-foot no disturbance zone under your bylaw, and obviously where this is in the resource areas, we requested a waiver from that. And then Janet had also brought to our attention there is a $500 fee when requesting a waiver, and we'd respectfully request a waiver from that waiver fee, since I think the intent of the waiver fee is to discourage impacts close to resource areas where this is an ecological restoration project. And that is my succinct presentation. Ted is here as well if you have questions about what has been done in the past, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. If you could take your plan down, please.
Yes. Just give me 1 second. There we go. It always takes me a minute on Zoom to find the buttons.
Yeah. Any comments by commissioners? And any comments from?
All I was going to say is I'm just so thankful to Mr. Ladd for what he's been doing for 40 years. So.
Yeah,
this is great. Yeah.
And any comments from residents at all? Okay. Then Janet, in terms of granting this, is there did you have any anything else that you wanted to add to that, the special conditions?
So I did just want to,
yeah.
I did just want to point out that in my comments, which I did go over with Stacy and Jackie, they've addressed all of those. So I think it's just a matter of waiting for the DEP number for the vote and close.
Okay.
I did want to note that my comments number 7 and 8 aren't applicable. They are not proposing any use of herbicides or chemicals. Those were standard comments for hydro raking, but those apply. There's no proposed use for them. I just want
so we can't close the hearing, but do you see any need? Basically, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Is there any need for the applicant or people in his employ to be at the next meeting?
I don't think so. I do have one quick question for the 2 wetland scientists. There's a special WPA Form 5A for the restoration order of conditions. One of them is there's a finding, and we have to check a box. This is on page 3 of 18 of that order of conditions. And the choices are dam removal, freshwater stream crossing, repair, stream daylighting, tidal restoration, rare species habitat, or restoring fish passageways. And so I'll be back in touch with you, but I'm just not seeing, there's a much longer list when you actually complete the application of what constitutes a limited project for restoration, but I
wonder, Janet, if the restoration order of conditions is only intended to be used if you are actually a restoration project. So there's 2 similar things in the act. There's a ecological restoration project.
Okay.
And then there's the ecological restoration limited project, which is a little broader, and that's what we are. So I think maybe this order, the restoration order of conditions, is if you're the full project, because that is very discrete in what it allows to be just a project.
Okay. So is it your understanding then we just issue under WPA Form 5 as a limited project?
Yep. Yes, just the standard form.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So no, I think this is very straightforward. What I will do is look at the special conditions again, send those out to the consultants to make sure they're comfortable with those, and that I've revised that according to what they've resubmitted. But I don't see any need for them to attend the next meeting, no.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the work that went into this on all parties. And we will address this at as soon as we get a DEP number in our next meeting. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're looking at a continued request for an RDA for 4 Sterling. Let's, oh, there it is. Janet, why don't you give us a lowdown on this, please?
Yeah, so this is really straightforward. We were just waiting for a couple additional pieces of information, which we received. So I recommend that we approve a negative determination of applicability for installation of a fence, relocation of steps and walkway relocations with the 4 special conditions I listed. And the vote should include approval of the waiver request to allow a fence in the 50-foot, no disturb, and within the 70-foot, no structure.
Okay, and why is that?
Because the fence, yeah, the fence is going in, portions of it are in the 70, some of it goes into the 50, but it's already disturbed lawn, but it does require a waiver.
Okay. And your sense on waiver fee?
I believe they've submitted that.
Okay, okay. Great, then
Obviously,
go ahead.
GL,
What's that, Janet?
Rob from GLM is representing Joyce tonight. She's on vacation. So that waiver fee has been submitted. Is that correct?
Rob, do you know?
I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, and Lori, do you know? Yes.
Yes, it
been.
has.
Okay, great. And Rob, do you have anything else to add to that, or you're just basically filling in?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'll let's see. Given that, then yeah, move to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? I think I think I mentioned this the last time. On closing a hearing, can we do that just on a
Fine with me.
a vote, a voice vote, please, as opposed to calling out everyone's names? So is there anyone who's opposed to closing the hearing? Okay, so the hearing's closed.
Okay.
Okay. Entertain motion to
move to issue a negative determination of applicability for the project with the conditions as noted.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. And this one we will call out. Sarah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, great. Then let's see, moving on. We'll keep Rob on screen here. Lot 2 Hartford Street. Janet, why don't you fill us in?
So this was a continued hearing. We had some, there were just a couple additional pieces of information we needed. We did receive the wetland delineation forms on the new DEP forms. I did confirm on site that delineation was accurate. We have received a revised site plan showing the specs for the required signage. And we also received confirmation all stockpiling will be outside the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, thank you. So then we are, you have a couple findings of fact. And let's see, what was that one there? Okay, and special conditions. Anything that stands out beyond the normal special conditions?
Nope, this is
Okay.
work in the outer buffer, so just our very basic special condition.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Move
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay, move to issue an order of conditions with the standard conditions for approving the project.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Amra,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. Yeah, so Rob, you can coordinate with Lori in terms of when those will be ready.
Sure. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. You too. Let's see. Just going through regulatory report and so on. So 7A Strawberry Hill, is that is still on for tonight, correct? Yeah, confusing it with Wilsondale.
Continue.
John?
Yeah,
So we received a request to continue in writing, but the agenda was already posted.
I see. Okay. So that will be continued to the next hearing.
Yes, I believe so. And if they need to continue again, they will.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So next we have the continuation of the amendment for Forehaven Terrace. So Janet, where do we stand on that?
So Paul is taking the lead on that, is the peer reviewer. So I'm not sure exactly where that stands.
Okay. Okay, Paul, you have the floor.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we've gone through a couple iterations. I saw Deb Anderson. Where did she go?
Yeah, then she just entered the Twilight
Yeah,
Zone.
for some reason my screen keeps doing strange things.
Okay.
So
Okay, carry on, Paul.
So I think we've gotten to the point of addressing all the commission's concerns and have a recent update with the planting plan and some other specifics on the plan. So maybe Artie, could you maybe share that?
Yeah. 1 second. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me know if I need to zoom in or anything.
Okay, looks like we're covered. You might take one more click in and see. There we go. And then move it over.
Hold on a second now. Yes.
Yep. There we go. Great.
So just as you recall, we did have a site visit. We had resolved the issue about the wetlands fill, which as originally proposed did not occur. I did verify that out in the field. There has been some essentially some replication that did occur where the garage was located. It's now well vegetated. There's a meadow to the rear of the lawn. The intent is to maintain that meadow habitat in perpetuity. Will require some maintenance and a commitment. So there would need to be a continuing condition that requires that maintenance of the meadow, but prevents any other alteration in there. As you can see, already has in red, there's a vegetated buffer strip along the back, as well as kind of that triangle area that points out towards the rear lot line. Seed mix in the area further to the right. There's narrative that Deb prepared that describes cleanup of some debris that's in the wetland. You know, that would be just by hand. The bounds that are there, bounds were put in along the back of the lot line, but they were put in flush. Those are proposed to be raised, so they'll be much more functional as a, you know, as a visible barrier, visible marker, and also an impediment to getting back there. You know, kind of cheating over with the lawnmower. Deb, am I missing anything here?
So we're also going to be installing that line of native shrubs behind where the markers will be pulled up, which will be an additional barrier to lawn mowing or anything like that. And I did add a mowing regime for that, which would really be late fall or early spring. And also a kind of height suggestion for the mowing of the meadow area to keep it high above 8 inches, to keep it as a habitat at other times of the year, for different creatures that would use that for bedding or other habitat value.
Deb, I have a question. I don't, do you have any idea why that meadow came in so abundantly and healthily? You know, do you think, because it's something that would be lovely if we could duplicate it, but it seemed to be something that came up on its own.
John, I think that if we can have rainy summers every summer, we'll see a lot.
No, it was there last year too.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
it was.
And it's really pretty stunning because it's the type of thing when we're, you know, as we move forward to the future, there's all these apocryphal things about, you know, whether stuff works or doesn't work. Something here worked, and nobody had a hand in it apparently. And I wonder what the environment is to recreate it. But
I don't have any insight on that, Paul. I don't know if you have any ideas.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it. I mean, one thing is it does get a lot of sun. You know, there's minimal shade there, you know, under the existing condition. And then also it's, you know, a portion of it is within the wetlands. The other portions you can see in the grades here are out of the wetland, but not by much. So it is, you know, it is, if not wetlands, it's damp. So there's plenty of moisture there. You know, there's obviously decent topsoil. You know, I think it's a little bit of a number of things that just are a good growing condition.
Yeah, no, it stands out. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Is there anything else to add to this from anyone's input?
John, I just had a question. I'm not sure, was there an invasive management plan in narrative form, or was it just on the site plan?
No, I did submit. That's what Paul reviewed. I had a narrative.
Yeah, I think that came in a month ago or two, you know.
Yeah, it was before the previous meeting.
I never saw the hard copy of that. Was that only by email?
No, Lori stated that she received it.
Laura, is that I know there was some issues with plans that were dropped off. Laura, did you receive that? Do you recall?
A month ago, I would really have to go through the.
Well, no, it was before. Yeah, it was before the previous meeting. That's what you did receive in the envelope, was the hard copies of the.
Oh, yes, I did. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yes, I did.
And Deb, did you email that as well, or was it just a hard copy?
Nope, that's how Paul got it. Paul got it to review.
I thought it'd been sent out. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
it did.
It was pretty typical, and it was much of it seemed to it made me think of Janet because of, you know, how it was written there. So I was satisfied with it, and surprisingly, there's something in that environment in the back that has invasives, but not abundant invasives. I don't know if it's And so it's something that you know, the plan addressed, and there weren't and the shrub breakdown and so forth. Okay, is there Janet, anything else that you'd like to touch base on this?
So I guess the next step, and Paul alluded to it, that we will need to amend the order of condition with some additional special conditions. That would include our standard restoration. Unfortunately, we're becoming very good at this. Our restoration site, also our standard invasive management standards. So I'd recommend that I can do a first draft of the amended order of conditions, special conditions, and run that by Paul. I don't think I've got like at least 9 permits, either continuing or new, for the next 2-week meeting. So I don't think I could get to that probably until our later October meeting, depending on.
Deb, did you have a hoped on start date for plantings?
DeWald's, the homeowner is here. So he might want to address that.
Why don't we take the plan down, Artie, or whoever has it up there? Okay. Hi, DeWald.
Hey, good evening, John. Yeah, we were hoping to do it still this year, but I mean, from the earlier comments, it doesn't seem like we'll be able to start this year. I mean, I was thinking even like next week, if possible, but obviously the window is closing on us fast here to get any plants in the ground.
So Janet, we can either help that along, or the fact is that everything is what's there now is established. There's no erosion or anything of that sort. What's your sense on that?
I think as long as Paul has signed off on the plantings and the location, I think they could order and even begin planting. And then we'd approve the amendment in 2 weeks from here.
Right. So DeWald, this is really just a matter of paperwork. We've already discussed what's going to be in there. It's just a matter of incorporating into everything else that we have. Is that something that would allow you to proceed?
Yeah, I think so, John. Thanks. I just need a green light from you, and then we'll get moving on that ASAP.
Okay.
So you would also be. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, go ahead, Deb. You're clarifying. What?
Just wanted to make sure. Are you okay with them starting invasive removals as well, as long as there's time to replace what's removed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
as a practical matter, you want to deal with the bounds before doing the plantings.
Why? I'm just thinking about if they're not going to have any equipment going back there that I know of.
Just because, I mean, the bounds is going to, doing that's going to create a little bit of disturbance. So I just seems to me you want to, do that, get those set, and then put the plants around the bounds rather than
I see. Right, for those shrubs there. Yeah, I was thinking beyond that. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And we talked about, a farm jack or something like that, to try to pull those up.
Right.
And so I think, does that give you, Artie, DeWald, and Deb, does that give you enough guidance in terms of where to go with that?
Yep.
To get started earlier, and then we'll just incorporate all this based on the last few meetings we've had into the as an amendment. And
excellent.
be able to
Thank you.
Next meeting. Okay. Great. Fingers crossed. We're getting there. So thanks much, and we'll see you again, and get any progress that you make. Update Janet, please. Okay.
Of course. Yep.
Okay. Great.
People drop off. Was there any kind of soil amendments that Paul or is being proposed?
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. To John's point, things seem to grow well there.
Okay. Usually one of our standard conditions is a monitoring report that documents before and after. So Deb, and then also oversight by a wetland professional. So
yeah, that's part of the plan I proposed.
Okay.
Okay. then, so we can't vote on this until we get the final amendment, written. So, let's meet back here, a couple weeks from now. Okay?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Then continuing requests for certificates of compliance. We have 8 Pagan Lane, which is, why don't you fill us in, Janet?
So I don't know if we received a formal continuance on this, but they owed us some information. And we have not received anything.
Okay. Was there anybody here from there who was expecting that? No, it looks like everyone's here. So the last one we have is for 10 Draper Road. Is that Martin? Hi. And oh, you're muted.
Yeah, Martin is on the line, yeah.
Okay, and Martin, just for the record, can you pronounce your last name, please?
Sure. The J is silent. That's the reason why my wife didn't take it. Papalugaski.
I ran into somebody today, similar thing. So, okay. So Janet, well, actually, why don't we have Paul, since Paul had been out there, why don't you go ahead and I know commissioners, Paul had sent that out at fairly late. I don't know how many people had a chance to review that.
Yeah.
Anyone? Well, Paul can fill us out.
Yeah, I did a little bit, but I would love to hear Paul talk through it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may, I'll share my screen. I think would be the most useful thing. We up? You looking at it?
Yep, looks great.
All right, great. So basically, this is just my letter dated yesterday, although I apologize, I did just get it out this morning. Basically, back in 2015, just to remind everybody, there was an order of conditions issued for work, existing house, pool house. The order of conditions was to modify the pool house largely within an area that was previously developed. To the rear of the pool house was approved a path leading back to the back left corner as you look at the lot from the street. A fairly substantial play area was proposed. Basically, it was a wooded kind of mature, primarily pine woods. And much of the property is within the 200-foot riverfront area. So there was a lengthy public hearing process on there. Commission ultimately approved the path through, including the inner riparian, which is usually a no-touch zone. But it was approved under the notion of kind of a limited project, basically as a ability to get from the house area to the back part of the property where this grass play area was to be created. So order was issued in 2015, has long since expired. These folks are new owners, recently requested a certificate of compliance. Party from Cheney Engineering went out, they did an as-built plan and a letter that went with that. The initial as-built was revised and the letter revised to create some updates. So I go through here, kind of the Cheney Engineering differences between the as-built condition and what was approved. So there was a small revision to the pool house. Adjacent to the pool house, there's a slope that goes down towards the wetland. There was an area of riprap put in there. There was a well was proposed. Well, was installed actually a little bit further from the BVW, still within the riverfront. There's a split rail fence. Is it split rail and wire fence that was installed that was not part of the original approval. The grass area was expanded. It was initially proposed as kind of a rectangle. During the public hearing process, the plan was revised. That was cut down. What was built is fairly close to the original proposal that was not approved. So, based upon Cheney Engineering calculations, it was about 2,900 square feet of additional lawn area. And then there's also an additional area that I'll show in a minute that I designated as a partially cleared area. What that is it's an area where many of the trees still remain, but the understory shrubs and herbaceous layer have been cleared. And then another small difference is there's as you look at the play area in the back right corner, there's a little triangle that was within the area that was actually approved to be developed, but there's a couple hundred square feet that was apparently left alone. There's a little grove of small pines there. I think probably the best thing to do is maybe just jump to. So this is the order conditions plan that was a portion of that plan that was approved, which was by O'Brien Engineering, and then this figure is one that I created that really describes the areas that I'm talking about. So in terms of jurisdiction, again, the pool house is down here. The residence is to the left of the pool house as you look at this area. So you can see the riverfront area is here, comes up, the brook is off to the bottom and to the right. Brook makes a turn. That's why the riverfront makes a turn here. So this area here in the riverfront was approved to be developed. And in addition, the walkway, as I said, from adjacent to the pool house, a walkway coming back to access that area. What I have highlighted in pink is what Artie has identified as additional lawn area, and he's called out additional trees that were removed. The trees were located on the original NOI plan by O'Brien, so Artie's relying on that to identify those trees. So that's where that information comes from. Mm-hmm. The green areas that I've highlighted are what I'm calling as additional partially cleared areas. So again, there's still some overstory, there's some canopy there, but these areas are altered from their natural condition. And I'm going to switch to a couple pictures. This is one such area. So when I took this picture, I had kind of my back to the pool house, to the gate into the area. So you can see there's a clear demarcation of what I'm calling the lawn area versus.
Paul, we can't see the picture.
Yeah, we're not seeing the picture. We're still on plan view.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why. It's on my screen here.
Because you're sharing that window.
Yeah, I'm on the same.
Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't see it in your tabs either.
Is it farther down in your report? Can you just page down in your report?
I don't have it actually in the report. I thought I could.
So
you might have to unshare and then reshare.
This one and share the other.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to stop share and then share again.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So again, this is the you can see the fence, the obvious lawn area, and then this is an area you can see. This is a new birch that the owners recently planted, and there's some overstory here, and then.
And Paul, before you do that, so was that area there, the cleared area where the chairs are, was that originally that was in your green outline? So was that part of the allowed play area, or was that outside of that?
It's outside.
It's outside.
Okay, so the fence is actually considerably
Outside.
beyond that. Okay.
Right. So my green areas, again, this is showing again some of the what I'm calling the partially cleared area as distinct from the lawn. This is a view. This is towards the pool house. This is again the walkway coming down to the pool house. This I talk in my report about. There's a semicircular area, quarter circle, I guess it really would be, is this area here. And then this again, you can see the pool house just in the right of the picture. So this would be as you're walking from the play area back towards the pool house. This area would be on your left with the propane tank. This is a blurry picture for some reason, couple blurry pictures. But this is a playground area. This area was within where the playground was within the approved limit of work. There's already in the walkway. This is just showing the continuation of the path. Again, this is the pool house on the left and the primary residence further back. This is again just to the left as you're walking out. This is to the left of the path behind the pool house. So I'm going to stop this again and go back to my other figure. I don't know why I can't go back and forth. So again, I have in my report, I saw that the 2911 is from the Cheney engineering plan. The dimensions of these areas are just estimates by me, but they're kind of they're reasonably accurate. But again, just they're certainly not survey accuracy. So this table, this is page 3 of my report. So the approved work, approved riverfront work under the order conditions was 6,300 square feet, plus or minus, which is about 4.9% of the riverfront area. So additional 2,911 square feet of additional lawn represents an additional 2.3% of the riverfront area. The partially cleared area is about 3,600 for another 2.8%. The approved but not completed area is about 200 square feet, so that's a minus in the calculation. When you total up all of this area in the riverfront, you get to about 9.9%. So if you remember, there's under the riverfront regs, there are two requirements for work in undeveloped riverfront, which is the no significant adverse impact and no substantially equivalent economic alternative with less adverse impact. So the no significant adverse impact is 5,000 square feet or 10%, whichever is more. Clearly, in this case, the 10% is more than the 5,000, so that prevails. So and then the no substantially equivalent economic alternative is the second part of that requirement. And that there was a lot of discussion about that back in 2015, and I think that really formed the basis of what the commission ended up approving at that point. as an additional, there was additional question that the Cheney engineering plan showed the retaining walls which exist along the front of the property when you come in on the driveway to the left and right as one enters from the street. The chairman had asked me to take a look at that and to see if I could understand, because those walls weren't shown on the original O'Brien plan from 2015. So I don't know whether they just didn't bother to show those because all the work was a couple hundred feet to the rear. And so I looked at those. It wasn't obvious to me from looking at them whether they were there in 2015 or more recent. I don't recall. I do recall. I'm fairly sure that to the right of the house, as one looks at it from the street, there's a very small retaining wall just above the wetland. And I do kind of recall that one being there because it was very close to the wetland boundary, which I reviewed. So I don't have an opinion with respect to the other ones, but I am fairly sure that that lower retaining wall was there in 2015 when I looked at the wetland flags. So that's really where where I've come down. One question that I had wanted to answer was when the house was built, and the reason for that is because, as you know, the Rivers Protection Act was 1996. Riverfront didn't exist prior to 1996, and my looking at the assessor's records indicate that the house was built before that. So my interpretation from that is that when one takes a snapshot of Riverfront in 1996, when the Rivers Act was passed, the starting point, as it were, is a condition where the house and pool and driveway, etc., was already in place. So that's germane in a situation where, if, for example, the house were built as riverfront alteration after 96, that would be kind of the first bite into that 10%. That 10% potential allowance, but my research indicates that the 10% begins at the point after the house was created. So unless I'm wrong about that, that's the way that would be viewed.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Did you happen to see anything in from 2015 as to what the minutes had to, how the commission addressed the delta between, if you could go up to 10%, but they clearly didn't want that to happen.
Laurie provided me the minutes. I did read the minutes, and I didn't find any clear statement there about the. What's obvious is that the original NOI plan showed a more expansive area than was ultimately approved. The minutes didn't explain that in any specificity.
Mm-hmm. And can you pull up the plan that shows your coloring there? So that's the original approved plan.
Right. This is a portion of the O'Brien 2015 order conditions.
Mm-hmm. And then if you move down to the we can see what happened there.
Yeah. So let me just show. So just to make clear, the riverfront is this blue line here. Mm-hmm. That's the 200. This is the limit of work. So the area to be cleared and graded is highlighted in green on O'Brien.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, can you roll up back again? I just see the trees that were there as well. So we had an area that was interesting. Down the area that they expanded to create the rectangle didn't have that many trees in that location there. It looks like.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So these are the trees. If you look, these are the trees that Artie shows on his plan. And this plan was the source of that, correct, Artie?
That's correct, yep.
Yep, okay,
So the circles represent the trees that were cut.
yep. And if you can, yep, thanks. And a little bit more, just because on my computer, I have everyone's faces on the right side. There we go, thanks.
So again,
okay.
this is those trees, the walkway, and then this triangle here. So where I showed the where you saw the Adirondack chairs in the photo, those are right here.
Okay. And then the red triangle are the trees that were kept, even though they had permission to take them out.
Those are new trees.
Oh, those are new trees up there. Okay.
Yep.
Now, you also said you planted a bunch of birch trees as well?
One birch tree on the bottom there.
Oh,
Yep.
one. And then you mentioned something at the last meeting, I think about 12 birch trees, or was that a proposal?
There was 10, so there were 10 trees that were cut. If you count the circles, you will see that there is 10 of them, including the other 2 on the bottom. So what we said is that there are several trees on that, like 9 trees, small trees on that triangle that you see over there that Paul has highlighted in red. So the math came up that we cut 10 and, you know, a cluster of 9 trees is there. So we took the initiative and we went ahead and planted a birch tree, kind of to give, yes, 10 trees were cut, but there are 10 trees over there too. So that's why we went with a version of adding one more. And as you can see from the picture that Paul provided, it's not a small tree, you know, I think it's a very mature tree. So we were not trying to cut corners. Martin is the new owner. He was not involved on what happened in here. Obviously, we are moving forward, and the reason why we're trying to push to get this through with you guys for a certificate of compliance is because we would like to move forward with a spa that's going to be near the pool on the concrete area, but without closing this one, we can't move to the other one. I don't believe that there is any issues with the walls on the front and the driveway. One of the items that we discussed with Paul, by looking the distance from the end of the walls that we have on the driveway to the where the flags would be or where the wetlands are, it appears that they would be a significant distance, and I don't believe that that would be an issue where those walls were. We were trying to do the right thing and document what was on the ground. So that's why we took the initiative and show everything. We expect that you guys will be coming back on doing the site visit for the other project also. Again, they have a small child on the property. Having the fence around this play area definitely helps so that we don't have any human activity going too close to the river setbacks. We are near to the 150-foot buffer. We are not even at the 100-foot buffer, but it's 150 feet away from the river. But the area is wooded. There are, you know, trees, shrubs and trees that have fallen. So having kids going into an area that it's not protected, it's asking for trouble. So I believe that, you know, the new owners have done everything they could to accommodate and help out with the process. We are welcome any suggestions that the commission or Paul would have. We would love to have an approval if possible.
The blue lines here, do you have the approximate dimensions? You know, length times width, anybody know?
The blue line, John, is, just to be clear, the blue line I should have pointed out is I just highlighted the fence. I already had it.
Right.
Yes, it's already shown, yes.
But that's all that encompasses the disturbed area. So I just, what I'm wondering is, so, I mean, this is a poke in the eye to the commission, you know, clearly that the previous owner just said, oh, well, thank you very much. And then just did what they, you know, felt like in contravention of what they were supposed to. That was a cloud on the title that closing attorneys did not, I don't know if there was, any money in escrow or anything of that sort if this was a known issue that was addressed, at the
There was
closing?
there was an issue that was disclosed at the closing, like days before, and there was $5,000, I believe, that was put on an escrow, which we have gone over that as it is anyway.
In terms of some sort of, restoration to here, or what was that applied
Well,
to?
so
Or
you're
was that a
talking about,
$5,000 birch tree?
no, it's like, if you put $3,500 for the survey and for our work, and then $2,500
Oh, I
with
see, in
Paul,
order
so
to,
we.
and it was going towards the COC.
So
I
I'm
see
not
what-
even,
yeah.
I'm not counting anything toward planting or, obviously they ended up, we even had a letter from a landscaping contractor that they would make sure that the birch tree would survive. Again,
So, well, that was, so, yeah, part of the reason I was asking that was that, so what was known at the closing was there was an outstanding order of conditions.
That's
and
correct.
And the money put into escrow was to facilitate, the obtaining of the, certificate of completion.
Yep.
Okay, so it wasn't, was anything disclosed that this was, beyond what the original, order of conditions had?
we had not done the survey at the time. We did not know the extent of what trees have been cut and how big the area was. We didn't have the information at the time.
So is it, let's see, I'm off screen, I'm just looking, is it Martin or?
Yeah.
Martin.
So
Yeah.
this was in March 27th, 2020, in the sort of height of COVID, when we closed on the home. And we knew there was an open order of conditions, or we knew there was an order of conditions, but it wasn't clear. We kept on being told by the seller's attorney that there was actually a certificate of compliance. It would be provided. They needed to dig it up, etc. We got to, I can't remember if it was Sunday before closing, and we had no place to live. And, I know COVID seems far away, but, we're kind of freaked out at the time. And so we knew it was a known issue, and they told us the day before closing, we don't have the certificate. So we quickly drew up an escrow agreement for a couple of $1,000s to facilitate the issue, because we had, really nowhere else to live at that point. But we were tracking the issue. We were aware of it, but we thought that there was a certificate of compliance, and then we found out that there wasn't the day before closing. And we really had no option to delay closing. We literally had no place to live at that time.
And did you have counsel as well on your end?
We did.
Okay, so, and usually they would look up whether yes or no certificate of completion, but they don't go beyond that depth there. So do you know if you have, since you're both attorneys, do you know if you have any potential recourse against the seller for any restoration here?
I don't think so. I think it's just the $5,000.
And that was, so Janet, fill us in. So we have some, it's clearly, they went above and beyond what they were supposed to do here. We have somebody holding the bag for it. They're within the 10% of their, of that. Well, actually, before I do address Janet, let me, because Paul was the person who reviewed all this. And the reason I asked about the green and where the and things of that nature, I'm wondering if there's any ability to restore something that it's helpful to have the rectangle, which I comprehend. Is there and I'm also asking this of Martin, and I didn't get your wife's name. What's that? Elizabeth. So we're looking at the need to do something here to claw back something, or somebody give us a reason not to. But this is one of the more egregious we don't care what you think examples by the previous homeowner, and typically we'd be looking at making this grassed area smaller, and recognizing that maybe if the green area that's highlighted, the seating area that you had, if that area moved even a little further up, I'm not sure square footage wise where where we'd be coming into. But Paul, what's any thoughts, Paul, on what options are on something like this?
I would say, going back to your comment about Tim always brings up, I think wisely, the question of, what would we have approved this? If this proposal were put on the table, as a fresh proposal, my first comment would be that the inner riparian, the first 100-foot is this line here.
Mm-hmm.
And this area here was altered. The pool house was altered, but it was within a previously developed area.
Mm-hmm.
This area here, bounded by bounded by the green and this part of the this is the inner riparian line. I would have told you this is not something that the commission has the discretion to permit. The walk, if you look back at my 2015 reports, which I did actually attach to this one, just for convenience, my view was that even though that was alteration of the inner riparian, you could view that as limited project access to get back to this area. But this is again part of my, what I'm designating as the partially cleared area. I would have said that is not permittable. Outside of that, the work, because it's in totality less than the 10%, the commission could have potentially approved that if you concluded that it met the no substantially equivalent economic alternative. That does not apply to the inner riparian. The inner riparian is basically a no-touch zone with limited exception.
So a couple questions on the outer riparian. I forget what the list of things are, but what are some of the things that are allowed in the outer riparian? I seem to recall like swimming pools are allowed, or
there's a provision for uses accessory to a single family house. Which include sheds and swimming pools, and those sorts of things. They're actually listed. I can.
Yeah, and are they all incorporated within the 10%, or are they a little broader?
There's a list of things that essentially don't require permitting.
And yeah, except that list might be whole. But one of the things that you had referenced, that you had done some reports back in the original filing. Could you glean anything as to why there was a limitation on the development there in terms of under the 10%?
Well, my recollection is that there was a lot of discussion on the commission. Because about the issue of substantially equivalent economic alternatives, because when you read the regulations about that issue, it talks about you have to consider the project purpose, and the project purpose is usually something fairly straightforward. It's a single family house, or or something like that. In this case, the project purpose was a play area. And it was, it was never disguised to be anything else. It was a play area. They had originally drawn out a rectangle, I think, as a little soccer field, and so there was discussion by the commission about, is a play area that's 2/3 the size of what they wanted, substantially equivalent economic alternative. And that was really the crux of the decision. I don't recall exactly how the final line was drawn, and why it was drawn that way. But if you look at, really the pink area relative to, to the larger rectangle that it's part of, it's basically the portion of the potential work area closest to the brook that was carved out.
Right.
And that's, again, I don't recall the specifics. The minutes don't provide that level of detail. But it's, I do recall the discussion about, what's substantially equivalent. And ultimately the decision was made to basically chop off that pink triangle and allow 2/3 of the proposal to go forward.
And Tim, do you recall?
Yeah, I do. I think we said that, because that was the area closest to the brook, we said you can't have that.
And
and we did this very, very reluctantly anyway.
In terms of allowing any of the work within the
right.
And Paul, while we're discussing this, could you pull up that list of things allowed in the outer riparian, please? I haven't been able to do a quick, I haven't found it. Amy, were you starting to say something about that?
No, I was just reinforcing what Tim said, is that we didn't really feel that that the amount of disturbance was warranted given what the use was going to be. That there were other opportunities in the neighborhood and it wasn't necessary.
So I have a comment.
Go ahead, Tim.
That this is called a certificate of compliance, and I am sympathetic with the new owner's situation here. It's not their doing, but this is not compliant. What do we do? I mean, this comes up over and over again, and we kind of bend. We say, okay, it's a little off. It's a little non-compliant, so we'll allow it.
It's a lot of.
Yeah, this is a lot of non-compliant.
Yeah, and well, it's interesting. So some of this is talking about conversion of lawn, which is interesting. Let's see, walkways, which probably is why we allowed that walkway to go through. Where does it state that this is outer riparian?
Well, I was going to explain that. So this is activities within the buffer zone.
Right.
When you go to the riverfront regs, it basically says, within the riverfront, certain areas are exempt, and it refers you back to this list.
Oh, I see.
So rather than reproduce the whole list, the riverfront.
Yeah, no, I think it was in 2E that I recall. So saying, but I forgot about the conversion of lawn. I was thinking of things such as 204 Dedham Street, where they're right on the river, and they were doing some things in the inner riparian, actually, as well as the outer riparian, that they had to take up. And there we required them to take up everything that was in the inner riparian, stone walls, patios, things of that nature. But for example, this allows sheds, pools. I think it was the pool always stuck with me, that was permitted.
But John, is that the conversion of lawn to use as accessory to residential structures like decks, sheds, patios, etc., is not building a giant play area?
No, it's not. It's not they build it and they will come field in the middle of the woods. And that was the discussion that that I do recall, that that discussion there. So go ahead, Artie.
So if it makes sense to the commission, the lawn itself is, as you can see it on the sketch that Paul has drawn up. It's
Paul, can you-
150. Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul, if you could bring that back up while Artie's talking, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Go ahead, Artie. It's 100 and what?
So what I was saying is that the lawn itself is 150 feet away from the river.
Mhm.
And it's outside the 100-foot buffer from the wetlands. I understand the concern about the clearing of understory within 100-foot in a riparian. And I'm sure that Martin would be happy to work with Paul. And if it is that Paul can recommend understory to be planted on that area on both sides of the walkway, we would be happy to accommodate, going even beyond the 100-foot buffer, going all the way up to near the well, with the idea that, you know, we will have to allow some access to the well for any future repairs. But if it is that Paul recommends planting something over there as far as to accommodate for what the prior owner did within 100 feet, we're going to extend it all the way up to where the fence is now on both sides of the walk. We would be happy to accommodate that. If at all possible, we would like the commission to work with us as far as, you know, the existing lawn that is there, if it's possible to leave it there.
So I still haven't gotten a dimension for the what the lawn area encompasses, what this rectangle is. Can somebody, I don't know if anybody has that ability, or do you have anything?
Of course, yeah. So you're looking for what is the total area with inside the?
No, I want to know
post and rail.
length times width. What are length?
Yeah, so-
length and width is what?
Excuse me, John, you're
So
looking
the-
for the fenced area, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the total area is 1,400.
No, I don't. No, I'm looking for. So what I see, what I'm thinking aloud is, a rectangle is nice, but we you know, we were.
Paul, can you stop sharing so I can share my screen? That way we are looking at the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. And that's, you know, you might be able to measure it.
Yep, that's, if you give me 1 second.
And did Martin fall off here, or where my? Oh, there they are. Sorry. Yeah.
I thought he fainted for a moment.
Okay.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah. So I want to rotate it so that we have the same view that we had with Paul.
See if I can rotate it.
Oh, I thought you just go up to yeah, again.
I'm trying, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing, see if I can make it.
There's a little rotate on the top.
Yeah,
tools.
yes. Sometimes you get rid of the, but that it was there under tools, or there or you can go under tools to do it directly.
Can't you see where I was pointing?
Yeah.
I wish. So hold on. Okay, let's go again. Share.
You go up and to the right, and there's a little circle with a arrow right.
Okay, right. Yeah,
right
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try that.
It's, yeah, it doesn't work.
Oh,
so let me see.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
View twist screen. Give me a second.
No, actually, we don't. All I was looking for is if you can give me dimensions of the length and the width of the fence.
The fence area.
Be careful what you ask for. It just rotated too much. That's all. Okay, now it's Paul's way.
Okay.
So distance from the end of the fence to the other end of the fence.
And maybe a little bit beyond, just because that will incorporate what we have.
So it's 139 feet. So, or from here to a little bit beyond would be 145.
Okay, and then what is it for the axis there?
145 by 95, 95 and a half.
Okay,
It's 15,000
so let's,
square, a little under 15,000 square feet.
yeah, and
Yes,
I'm actually,
this-
because this is my thought process, if we can get that little squiggly out there. And actually Paul's plan shows it better. So why don't we pull Paul's plan up again? I just wanted to get an idea of what we're
You
dealing
were
with.
looking for dimensions, that's why.
I was, yep, no, and we couldn't get it on everything, so, okay, so it's interesting. On the right-hand side, we did not want stuff that was within the buffer there. But we did allow it on the left-hand side. So we allowed some, some portion there. I am wondering, and I'm just thinking aloud, and I'm open to feedback from everybody. If we were to move that right-hand line in to the left, okay, so that we can still, and if we pick up, basically, I'm looking at if we were to move that to close to where to that 4-inch tree to the inside there is.
So this line here, John, you're talking?
Yeah, if you move that, and so basically if you've filled in, yeah, I'm pointing at the screen in my office, but that's not helping you. If you basically truncated that and made this more of a square, is my thought. I don't know how, if you have the ability to move any of that stuff on there, but I'm looking for something that gets us to recapture some of this 3,000 square feet. And we also would recapture some of the green areas beyond the probably encompassing everything within the 100-foot area there, because I am aware, Martin, that you have so little yard space by the nature of the way the house is placed on the lot. And so I believe, yeah, that type of, but actually moving it to the other 4-inch tree to the left even more. Yeah. Okay. And just, and that still gives you 100 feet of space there. But I'm just, I'm looking for something, and I don't want to use the word compromise because we don't have a reason to compromise here, because of the, as Tim mentioned, this is a certificate of compliance. But I'm wondering if we have an ability to that maybe intrude a little bit more into the seating area where the Adirondacks were, so that we pick up a little bit more along that length there, and end up with a square that might be we're 100 by 90 or something. And keep in mind that if we go there that way, and I'm just one person talking right at the moment, that's still a 1/4 acre of open space. I mean, that's what is a full-size house lot in certain towns.
So John, are you talking about
something? Yeah, a little, well, yeah, exactly. Maybe, not over to the path. So basically over to where the green line turns down. So a little further over, yeah, bring the, yeah, right there. Okay.
So this area here and here
in that
would
area
be,
there. Okay.
out.
And I'm assuming that that's 100 by, call it 50. That we're picking up, if that actually ends up being close to 5,000 square feet. Actually, I mean, this is the calculation I'd like to kind of figure out on Amy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Why wouldn't we just extend the path a little farther and extend that line all the way across to the border? So then it is actually, they actually have a rectangular square.
So
and we get a bit more of the 150-foot buffer.
Is that like where Paul just moved things?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
and then allow the path to continue
to come up to that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But then reforest the area in the lower left-hand corner as well as the right-hand side.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking also in the right-hand side where the trees had come down in the first place. There would be additional plantings there.
Right,
Um,
I think you'd have to replant, put together some kind of a planting plan that included trees and shrubs for all of the area that's now excluded.
Yeah, and I think there would be
And
some,
move the fence in.
yeah, and then there'd be some plantings on that lower crescent, the lower green crescent as well, and they could be high bush blueberries, they could be, shrubs, there are trees there. Um, so anyway, Martin, that's, trying to figure out something that gives, still gives you play space. And still gives you more than what was approved, but takes into account the fact that you have inherited this, and yet we also have wetland rules and River Protection Act rules that we have to comply with as well, or at least come close to it. Do you have what's your feedback on this?
I think we're just taking it in. Obviously, this is happening live, and I don't think it's what we expected. So we're, obviously listening to you guys and looking at the proposal, and we'll think about it. I don't think we have any feedback at this moment. We're sort of.
So let me just also, because you have a young child, you've recently moved to Dover. We've encountered in the past people who want more yard space, and we only encounter the people who are within wetland areas, and they have to ask permission for it. Just to let you know, I have the parents' perfect backyard. I have a farm meadow backyard that is more than an acre. I expected soccer games, lacrosse games, hockey rink, all those things. Once the kids got to 7 or 8 years old, they were never in the yard. Everything gets so scheduled that they're not there. And then and even before that, it's all play dates, back and forth and so forth. So that this may become this in general would become a thing that you dread mowing, or or the fact that you have somebody mow it for you or something. So I'm just letting you know that what happens with reality in this town is that the activities all end up being away from the house. And yet I can certainly empathize with the hopes and dreams of what the space could be used for. However, it's also something that was done in direct contravention to what was permitted, and there was a lot of thought put into it. And we're trying to give some thought here so that we can be accommodating, and yet still if the EP comes sniffing around, we can give them a rationale as to, what action was taken here. And so this is my thought, and you can think about it, play with the lines, figure out, other things and so forth. But the idea that we would, I think it's unsupportable for us to accept what you inherited in its entirety. It's really a direct contravention, and so and also commissioners, I'm asking for you, because I also don't want to have commissioners, anyone think that I overstep my bounds in terms of proposing something like this. I don't there may be commissioners who just think it should be what it was.
Yeah,
but one thing to keep.
John, I
Go
think
ahead.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm certainly very sympathetic to their plight. It's I mean,
and
it's not they didn't do this.
No,
They inherited
no.
this, but our rules, the way the thing works is that you bought it. They bought this property, and they bought the problems that go with it.
And one of the things to keep in mind, folks, too, is that originally according to the Rivers Act, they could have been permitted more square footage in there. Although I don't know if that incorporated the, certainly the areas outlined in green and so forth. But so that if we
They were only permitted it, John, if they could meet the exceptions, and we felt they didn't meet the exceptions. I mean, if they could meet the
practical
the alternatives analysis, I think is
right.
what
The alternatives analysis didn't hold them.
Well, and I guess part of the alternatives analysis is what they didn't have a yard for kids to play in, so they were looking for an alternative. Or does anybody recall what
Well,
I think the yard. Excuse me. Like the way to frame the thought process is the project purpose is a yard. That's what they wanted to build. So that was the project purpose. And then the alternatives analysis is, some reasonable suite of alternatives that met that project purpose. And, and there was, I do recall, there was discussion saying, well, they have several thousand square feet on the north end outside the riverfront. So one of the alternatives is that they get a path to get to that area, and that's appropriate. There should always be an alternative in the mix, that is no impact alternative. Okay? So between that and clearing the whole riverfront, there's an infinite number of possibilities. So you come up with a reasonable suite of alternatives, and they did that. As I don't have them all, but the minutes reference actually 7 alternatives that were provided.
So that gives you, Martin, gives you an idea that there was an awful lot of thought put into this original plan.
So John, I just want to say that the little triangle addition bothers me less than the green stuff.
Okay.
Because that's really just was not even close. They didn't even ask for that.
And the green stuff is pretty much understory. Is that
yeah? But it's where those it's very cleaned up and mulch.
Oh yeah, no, I just want to confirm that there were no trees taken down. That it was predominantly understory.
Yeah, there were a couple of trees at the bottom there that were.
There were
the 2 6s. Yeah.
Within the green, you'll see 4 circles. Those are cut trees.
Got it. Okay.
And I'm assuming that Martin has all this history. Martin and Elizabeth have gotten all this history.
No, they probably. I'm assuming they don't have it.
Okay. Well, I think it's only fair that they get the backstory of this.
Well, I think that's part of what we're doing tonight, but we can also,
provide it to them.
Yeah. So,
question, Tim. You were concerned about the green area more than anything else. Would it make sense that maybe we work with Paul toward planting that area where the green areas for the understory, so that we have.
I don't think so. I think there needs to be a more comprehensive plan about how to address the areas that have been violated.
And with the rationale, even if there's a request for a little bit more, with the rationale for additional work or something that you can do to help make for a better wetland and rivers setback there.
Now, there was a thought on the last meeting that the commission come and do a site visit, and I believe.
Oh yeah, no, I think that would be very helpful. I think that would for everybody, concerned.
Would it make sense that we pick a date before we go too far on this, and maybe
I want us to cover what we covered tonight, so that the homeowners are aware of the history, And then also aware that we're not pleased, and that but we're also sympathetic, and so that we and we're not looking to restore trees in the way that we would be if somebody were within the 100-foot buffer, or a regular restoration at a 1.5 to 1 ratio or anything like that. We're looking for a mutual accommodation to try to make this better than what people did before, and we're not holding it against them. It's not like we found this with the previous owner and we'd come out guns blazing. We're just trying to come out with something that's fair, and yet gets us closer to what the Riverfront Act tells us we're supposed to be doing. And a site visit would, in a couple long tape measures, may be able to do that.
Is there a date that works for the commission?
Well, let's see. Any proposals from the homeowner side in terms of availability?
I believe we'll be happy to accommodate whatever works for you guys.
Let's let them.
They've been willing to work with you since the
but if
beginning.
they have, I don't know if they do trial work or anything like that. I mean, areas to avoid, but
I mean, this is a priority for them, so let's, whatever works for you guys.
I'm free most afternoons.
Yeah, we can make ourselves generally available.
Okay. Let's see. Let me just take a look at a quick search for this week's weather, if we have anything coming in, and
Rain's coming in on Friday, but only
Maybe.
50%. But
yeah, and I'm thinking next week sometime. So, actually, next week looks great so far, all the way through the entire week. And so afternoons somewhere after 3, does that work for people?
sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty busy. So we can avoid.
What? I'm sorry, what was that?
We pick our sun up at 5 p.m. so it gets a little crazy between like 4:30 and 5:30, but. We can be
So,
flexible.
do you want to make it 2? Would that be better for you, do you think?
3 is fine.
I'm not expecting us to be here. I'm certainly hoping this is not a multi-hour situation. So, okay, so 3 o'clock.
3 would work, yeah.
Which day?
Well, let's take a look. Let me get back and I'll take a look at my calendar.
So John, Tuesday, I expect to be tied up at Junction. So other than I could do Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday afternoon.
What time's your Junction walk?
It's in the morning, but there's I'm allocating all day. I don't know how long it's going to take.
Okay.
I mean,
well, so
we're meeting
I am
in the morning.
Thursday works for me.
Thursday doesn't work for me.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Busy
Tim,
next week, but
Tim,
I
is
wanna
that a
be the
no
only
for
one.
you? Tim, was that a no for Thursday?
No, it works for me.
Oh, Thursday works.
It does not work for me, but
Okay.
if it works
Anyone
for
else?
others, then
It works
Thursday
for
works for me.
Monday,
Sarah's
Monday,
okay.
Wednesday are good.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday.
So
Yeah, I'm not
I
here
am good
Monday.
on Monday or Thursday. Anyone have a preponderance one day or the other? So
I'm
that-
good
well,
every
I
day.
can't do Monday or Wednesday.
okay, then let's
I can
go
do
for
it. I
Thursday.
can do it after 3, but not
Okay.
before.
Okay, let's do Thursday at 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Thursday.
That's
I'm
it.
a little not sure if that works for me, but if I'm the only holdout, I will see if I can sort myself out.
Well, you're not
Okay.
the only holdout. I'm definitely not going to be able to make it on Thursday.
Okay.
Do
But
we
that's
want the
all right.
following week?
I remember what it looked like with its beautiful
Amy,
tree.
you are welcome to come on another date if you want. I'll be happy to meet you on site if needs be.
That's all right. I'll just rely on their counsel.
Okay, so we're looking at myself, Sarah, Tim, Amra, are you available?
I might be able to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't have a full screen up. Who am I missing? Jim's not here, I guess.
I'm not
Anna?
sure if I can make
Anna?
it, but I'll try.
And,
Okay.
and then I don't know about Jim.
Okay. Well, I think if we can get three, that'd be lovely. So
I
let's
definitely can do it.
okay. So let's do Thursday, 10 Draper.
Okay.
And that also allows us to get Paul there as well.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay.
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 And
Thank
sorry, before we conclude, so, understanding that the sort of green areas are closer to the wetlands, is there any scenario in which you would consider sort of restoration of that entire, I think that's a lot of square footage, that path, call it underneath the gravel walkway, if the
Oh
estimates.
no, I think that's at minimum, and it's also the easiest thing for on your end, in terms of what's involved. It's really a matter of when we walk everything, we get a sense of what we have for potential adjustments. And I think we go into it recognizing that it's a pretty decent violation certainly of what was permitted, but also of the Rivers Protection Act beyond that. And so you and Artie can put your heads together and come up with alternatives, maybe several, and make your case as to why something should be allowed. And as opposed to just because you want a nice rectangle piece of grass, figure be creative, come up with something, because it's a out and out violation, and we and it's so let's see what we can come up with, okay, before we have to
Thank you.
At the same, as it's serious as it is, we also it's butting heads over it is, I don't think it's a useful exercise. I think we should, see what we can come up with alternatives here.
Excellent.
Any commissioners have any other input here?
Nope.
Okay.
Just real quick, I just took a screenshot of what I marked up here just for discussion purposes, and I'm emailing it to Laurie and also to Artie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just to memorialize what we had.
Well, and remember, it's conceptual, so work with square footages involved there, and and all that sort of stuff, and we're flexible. I wouldn't say we're flexible. We're open to doing something here, and we also know that it's what you inherited, but it's shame on the sellers, basically, is what we're is what it comes down to. And
also the broker. I know it's not fair to, but
well, no,
I don't know.
There were 2% of the brokers out there who would even have an idea of what this is. So I'm not that I wouldn't hang it on them.
Okay.
I think any statute of limitations or any of that sort of stuff, there we had a whole tolling period involved here. So this is we're looking to get a COC on this in order to move forward on other things. We'll get together. We'll have a better picture when we're actually walking things, and then we'll figure it out. Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Anything, Martin? Anything else? Any parting words?
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Okay. Night.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. You can take that off.
Bye. Okay.
Okay. Great. Let's see. Then we have at this point. Oh, I had a discussion item for commissioner communications. So we had a lot of relative to the 40Bs or potential 40Bs, neighborhood groups got in and they sent things out to folks that they were, people that they knew or were aware of or whatnot. And I know it's you like to accommodate people, but when it comes to things of this sort, I think the best thing is to have everything come through Lori, as opposed to any one-to-one communications. And that way it comes out under the aegis of the Conservation Commission. Because we're trying to figure as Lori, Jan, and I spoke to town council about what our responsibilities are relative to communication, as well as whether we had any obligations to allow all community groups to have access to sites and things of that sort, which I had outlined earlier. We don't. And we also mentioned at the previous meeting, too many cooks in the kitchen and so forth. And so, so if any of that stuff comes through, ask people to, respond, but respond by having them direct things to Lori, please. With that, why don't we, on agents' reports, Janet, why don't you fill us in?
I'm sure. Let's see, am I off mute? Yeah.
Excuse me, Janet. John, do you?
Yeah,
do you need
I
me?
think I think you're done here. Thank you very much. And
right.
and if you have anything to add relative to Rivers Protection Act or any of those sorts of things, feel free to let us know.
Okay, yeah, I would just again, I apologize for the lateness of my report, but I did attach my submittals from 2015, which go through the regs.
Okay.
So I would encourage people to spend a few minutes and read that.
Okay, and I think I missed those attachments. I just saw the letter, so not that you may have sent them. I may not have scrolled down far enough to see them. So
yeah, let me make sure that I'm
No,
not.
you did. I mean, I saw that.
okay,
I did. Okay, good.
Great. Okay, thank Lori.
No, I was gonna say I can resend if you need me to.
No, I'll just scroll down farther. I
Okay.
missed it. So okay.
All
Thanks
right,
much,
good
Paul.
night.
Okay, night.
Thanks.
Thank Paul.
So
Thank
see
you.
you on Thursday, I guess.
Yep,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Okay, so Janet?
Sure. So the first thing, I just want to confirm our open space article was submitted for the newsletter. I want to thank Amy and Anna for their comments and reviewing and edits. That was really helpful. A couple updates. I did get a call from the homeowner at 14 Hamlin's Crossing, and I'm just wondering the status on that enforcement order. Has that gone out yet?
Yes.
Okay.
A copy to the owners at 14 Hamlin and a copy to Jonathan Fryer's office.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So she should be getting that soon then, I expect. And
should have that, yeah.
And Joyce will be working with the homeowners, and then they'll be working probably some kind of settlement then with the previous owners. Okay. 29 Saddle Ridge Road. I got a message from Scott Goddard that they're now handling that situation and are evaluating the site and are working on a restoration plan. I believe the enforcement order deadline for the restoration plan submittal has passed. I don't know if we've gotten a request to extend that, but that's a formality, I think. Let's see. I have gotten questions from a couple people with regard to the Hale CR coming up and what the Concom's role would be. And I know this would be a question for Amy. And I've heard that it's not clear if we're going to have a fall town meeting because of Westwood, that there are issues on the Westwood side that might prevent us moving forward. But in any event, it might be helpful at the next meeting. Amy, if you can just review what you understand our role would be as we're a co-grantee of the CR.
Okay, so I haven't seen even a draft of the CR for since the very beginning of the process. And I don't know if it's the town entering it in as a co-CR holder with the trustees or the Conservation Commission. But I assume that the Board of Selectmen would delegate that responsibility to us. But while other CRs are written specifically to the Conservation Commission, this one may not be. It may only be to the town because the selectmen are the ones that are negotiating it. The primary responsibility for monitoring and enforcement will be the trustees. We will have the ability to review, comment, and make our opinions and ourselves known. We'll have some rights in there, but again, I haven't seen the wording, and I probably won't by the next. I hopefully will by the next meeting, but you don't know. I don't know, so I'm not. So I guess that's the long and the short of it is that there will be as much responsibility as we want to take, and the trustees will be happy to work with us if we want to, or they are happy to take on the full monitoring and enforcement job.
Okay, that's helpful.
And they are fundraising themselves to fund that, to endow that effort themselves, and that's completely separate from the 10 million that the town's being asked for and the 26 million that Hale is raising themselves. This is a separate.
So they're looking to endow the conservation restriction supervision for for years into the future. Okay.
Correct, because they have a whole team a whole department that Sally runs that does this, and that's why we want them doing
this. Oh no, absolutely no. There's no question.
Because then we get Sally doing it for us.
No, we've seen we've seen in their involvement on 3638 Farm.
Right, and Mill Farm. I mean, Sally is the best in the business.
I was gonna say, like, Mill Farm she was awesome with that whole thing. So
yeah.
So
and she's got a whole team that works for her. It's not just her, but she's the face.
So Janet, my sense is that people will be looking for a statement from conservation at some point, in favor or not, or conditionally or whatever. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes. Yeah. So I think the question is the timeline and when does the CR get released? And then, with our meeting with DA and the trustees, I think we're going to want to make the rounds once the CR is out, make the rounds to the different boards for like a formal presentation and then ask for our support.
Right. That's exactly the process. It's just, there's some small amount of wording that Westwood Town Council, in-house council is not happy with, and it's slowing the whole process down.
Well, that's their job. Okay.
So
So we're
town meeting till we have a CR to vote on.
Right. So okay.
All right. So then the next is a couple 40B updates. 8185 Tisdale Drive, which is a portion of it is adjacent to the Red Robin area. So they are moving forward. They may be in with an NRAD to us at some point, either October or November. But that is definitely going to be a 40B. The Trout Brook Edgewater 40B, that's moving along with the ZBA. They have another hearing tomorrow night. I've heard from Scott Goddard that they may be submitting NOIs for those 4 properties, even though they're still in the ZBA hearing. And that's
Mhm.
their choice. There's no
Yep.
there's no rules on that. So that may be coming before us soon.
Well,
Uh,
so that's a question. If they're not, so they have a mass housing approval, but they don't have ZBA approval. If they come in front of us prior to ZBA approval, are they subject to our bylaw regulations?
um,
Or,
only if the ZBA has not yet voted on their waiver requests of our.
okay, so so it would behoove them to come in after that, it would seem, but, okay. One of the, just to let people, so one of the things that concerns me about a few of the lots, and I'm trying to get the information, supposedly FEMA has released somewhere, which we have yet to find, preliminary updated maps for flood zones. And at the ZBA hearing, they, they're pushing it. These lots were not viable without a 40B. They're pushing much tighter setbacks than what we would have, and they're based on the 108 elevation that we've encountered for flood zones in the Charles. And for newer members, these are areas that are just inviolable, and as DEP does not allow any fill going into an area. You can't fill in anything 108 feet or below elevation, because it affects this flood storage of the entire flood zone. The plans that they showed at the ZBA have stone walls marking their territory and creating their yard above that. And if these new maps, we're just trying to find out whether or not they've changed the 108 to 109, for example. And we want to find that out before things are submitted, because the occupants will pay for that if those changes do exist. And we're just trying to find, we haven't been able to find anybody to give us an answer one way or the other. And that may slice off a portion of their lots, probably most effectively over at, well, actually all of them, but there's the one on Trout Brook itself is bothersome, because there's a major floodplain there. And but at one of the ZBA hearings, neighbors were complaining about entire lots being underwater during all the rain. And I went out during the rain, and that's not the case. So the NRADs are, seem to be holding up. And we had a lot of rain, and I walked areas and they weren't even squishy. And then they drop. This is all area that was filled decades and decades ago, filled up to a certain height, and then it drops where they no longer filled, and those areas are certainly wet, and there was standing water there. But those are outside of the what they proposed on their plans. So I just wanted to let anybody who can encounter a preliminary FEMA map, please let Lori or me know, please. Okay.
I see Amir's hand up.
Oh yeah, I have a related question. I did the conflict of interest certificate, but I just wanted to clarify for myself, since I live so close to Trout Brook, am I is there any conflict of interest there?
It's an interesting question. You're not within 300 feet. You haven't gotten any butter notice. Yeah. Janet, any sense on that?
So there are no absolutely hard, fast rules, but people take two approaches. One is you could just submit a disclosure form that you are in the neighborhood, but it asks you, do you feel you can deal objectively with the permit and all of that. But so that's a disclosure form. It's on the website. You would just give that to Lori. The other is, if you feel that you may have a conflict, you can actually ask for a determination from the state. That seems like, a pain.
Yeah.
Or you could simply recuse yourself, and then there is no issue. So there are some options for you when that comes to us. Yeah.
And I thank you for answering my question. I'm just perplexed as to why there is this exemption for 40B. It's just because it's still houses that are being built there.
It's basically it's 40 years, 50 years ago when they first came in with it. They looked at towns like Dover and they said, they basically accused us of having exclusionary zoning. And we're not the only town. And they said, look, you're going forward, it's a good thing for us to have mixed housing. And the state passed a law, and certain towns such as Lincoln jumped on it. They said, yep, we agree. And they created their own housing under those guidelines in order to approach their 40Bs. Lately, places like Red Robin, if they come in with 100% rental, 100% of those units go towards the 10% limit. In this case, and this is novel for this developer, they're taking marginal lots, and we were surprised that they got the ability to say that it was a neighborhood and take non-contiguous lots and incorporate that. But the overriding state law says 10% is a good goal to have, and all towns should share in it. And they fall back, they override our bylaws, but they don't override state bylaws. So they're still subject to DEP regulations for septic systems and wells and things of that sort. But we have stricter bylaws, and those are the things that go by the wayside, including setbacks, lot area, and things like that.
Oh, so it's just that Dover has more restrictive rules about wetlands than the state does.
If you have the only way you can have a bylaw is if it's more restrictive.
Right. Okay.
Kind of
and then the other thing that made these lots pretty much unbuildable is the water table so high, and Dover doesn't allow you to take a undeveloped lot and bring in fill to bring your septic system higher, with the necessary separation. And also the state separation is a little bit less strenuous than what Dover separation is. And Dover responds and says, well, we do that because we're primarily well. And the state, when it comes to DEP, the state is viewing the whole state as a whole there relative to 40B, in terms of trying to hit those housing goals. So that's how they have the ability to override that. And also override the multifamily zoning that we don't really allow either. And so that's we're behind that. Facebook, there's a Dover Facebook group that's not town oriented, but just anybody has 2,000 members, I think. Somebody wrote a letter to there, and I don't know where they're distributing it, but they're calling into question because, and I wasn't aware of this, ostensibly, Asurion or Eversource, the water company, has a well down in that area that they draw from, and so they were saying that they were concerned about that, and so there, we'll have a number of different groups in opposition there. And your question is very, very typical of people who haven't encountered this before: is how can they do that? And that's why. So
thanks.
Anything else on 40Bs?
Yeah, I did send out an article that Kara Loosman had sent me. Apparently Medfield Select Board.
Oh, right.
Opposition to providing water and sewer to Pulte. So that's an interesting twist. That's going to put more pressure on maximizing development on that lot. So that's not good news for us, but good news for Medfield, I guess.
Well, I'm not sure why. Well, I'm agnostic right at the moment, because according to Pulte, and I can understand their concerns, they're not stating that they're going for 40B, although given all the test pits that I saw when I walked the land, the water table is probably pretty high, and only a 40B would allow them to put septic systems in there. So we don't, but they won't be able to do so they won't be able to subvert that and go with sewer via Medfield. So
they're trying also to push Carolyn planning, or possibly, I don't know, it sounds like they're trying to push the MBTA adjacent cities or whatever it's called, requirements.
No MBTA nearby.
Believe it
Yeah,
or not,
like
we,
the Department of
Medfield has
Water.
one. You just can't walk there from Junction.
yeah. And
The
we're,
only one that you might be able to walk to from Dover is the Needham
Needham.
Junction one, but all of the land that you might want to build on there is Charles
Wet-
River, riparian, and wetlands, and belongs to land trusts. So I don't think we're going to be rezoning any of that.
yeah. So that's, yeah, so look for Carol's, letter. It came from Medfield. The selectmen voted, that they, in 1961, they granted Dovershire, the high school, the school area there gets their water from Medfield. But Medfield saying that with, the Medfield Hospital, redevelopment and things of that sort, that they are not willing to do that. So.
Okay.
And, okay.
So
Jenna?
the next item was in my report. It's a violation at 3 Tubrek Drive. It's not a major one, so it's really up to the commission how to move forward. These folks put in an underground propane tank within about 50 to 60 feet of a wetland and intermittent stream. Dave Tiberi, the fire inspector, they didn't even get a permit from him. So these folks are not on the ball. Their installer is not on the ball. So the question is, do we want to take any action? The picture I sent you, they did do quite a bit of clearing. I don't see any point in an after the fact RDA. We're other location options, so I don't think we would even have approved an RDA at this location. They have
really?
planned in other spots. But I am recommending an enforcement order requiring that they submit a restoration plan. And that all resource areas, including the buffer zone, needs to be restored to its original condition.
And how do we determine that?
So that's just one of the boxes we would check on the enforcement orders.
Oh, I see. Okay. And then it's up to them to come back to us with a planting plan using a wetland. So part of our enforcement letter would be telling them they need to get a wetland specialist.
Well, I think that it's pretty clear, the entire area they cleared, and I have talked to the homeowner. So it really, they would just need to restore, it's not a huge area. So I think if
And
we-
what was your communication with the homeowner?
Very apologetic. They actually had been before us on a previous project, and she said, you know, it just slipped through the cracks. So I think issuing an enforcement order that they have to restore all disturbed areas within the 100-foot buffer, that's very clear on the property where that is.
Okay.
So I would recommend that you vote to approve an enforcement order, attach my site inspection form, and require that they submit a restoration plan within a month. Or what do people think's reasonable?
No, I think that's reasonable. The planting may not take place till the spring, but we'll, I think getting the letter out there is appropriate. So I would ask for motion to
Or move to issue an enforcement order on, what's the address?
3 Tubrek Drive.
3 Tubrek Drive.
I would second that.
Okay, all in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
And Anna?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay.
And just the last thing is, there are some good wetland protection training programs coming up. I had sent an email out last week. Most of these are free. There's an enforcement program put on by DEP this coming Wednesday, the 4th. And I'll resend the link to that. I think that would be a really interesting program. It's only an hour. It's from 10 to 11 on the 4th. I'll send out a reminder tomorrow.
And that'd be great.
And then
Are they Zoom meetings or?
yes, all Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Saturday, October 28th is the MACC Fall Conference, which is basically a refresher of the wetland regulations and new requirements and issues. I think it's out at Fort Devens.
So it's not at Holy Cross or where it used to be?
I think the annual conference is always at Holy Cross.
That's in March though. You're right. Okay.
And so, Amira, you should know the Concom does have a budget to help support costs for conferences and things. So if you're interested in that, and that's it for me.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any closing words from anyone? Anything that we missed or anything of that sort?
Good meeting, John.
Thank you. Oh, Anna?
Super briefly. Yes, super briefly. Land management working group met yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yay.
Yeah.
And
Fit a lot in.
yeah. Yes. Seems like it's been so long. We had a bunch of follow-ups that we're excited about. Pulling together resources, pulling together lists of things that are allowed, getting lists of trail maintenance that everyone wants to do, figuring out how we're going to organize people. I emailed you, John, about talking to town council about what kinds of waivers we need. So if we could get that sent to them, just because the idea is to get volunteers out, maybe with chainsaws. So someone needs to think about things like insurance.
So it's interesting. So Janet and I have talked about this at times too. You know, there are waivers for trail maintenance. And what are there any constraints on that, Janet, or what's your take on? I know we talked about that relative to alternate bike trails and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's good to touch base with town council for a best practice. I think if someone is volunteering on behalf of the town to do maintenance on our land, that some kind of a waiver would be a good idea. Not making it too complicated, but I think that
Well, I think it's not just liability waivers, but the waivers of filing waivers. Is that what you were thinking of, Anna? In terms of whether you have to file or...
That too. We need to think about lists of things that can be done as maintenance or what needs a new RDA. But that's sort of separate. That's not.
But so you were originally thinking about liability waivers? Is that what
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've always marveled, and Amy, you may know more about this, but you know, there's so much volunteer stuff that kind of happens for decades, and nobody has signed anything. And
the Hunt Club, I'm sorry, the Hunt Club, we make everyone sign waivers.
And
Amy, you intervene on that one.
What has open space done before, or are there waivers anywhere?
We haven't ever had anybody do a waiver, but I mean, if you're walking on land, then and you didn't pay to do it, then the landowner is exempt from responsibility. Right. I don't know if we're exempt or not.
No, I'm just saying, like Jerry Arnold, if he ever falls on a chainsaw.
Yeah, well, we just don't know that he's using his chainsaw.
Right.
I mean, whenever we've talked about it, we've been told that we don't, from the selectmen, like, no, we don't have anybody using chainsaws.
Well, and I know when we did a site visit once on Haven, I drove over a route that popped up through my bumper and, popped that out. And so immediately after that meeting, I went to town manager Dave Ramsey and showed him pictures. And I just thought it was clear that, I'd be covered. And he said, nope. And so I don't know what, so we'll look into that.
I don't, it's a gray area at best. Probably we're probably not supposed to have people using chainsaws unless they're a town employee, but so I agree, Anna, we should probably check that out.
Yeah, and then my question for Janet was maybe just a quick clarification note on which you may have done a couple years ago, but you know, the ability that waiving for trail maintenance and things of that sort, that we wouldn't have to file for, you know, notices of intent or things of that sort.
Right, so we did talk, the group talked about that, and I'm working on some guidance that will, you know, hopefully clarify what work is maintenance and repair and exempt from filing, and then what's more serious that they should at least come talk to us. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. And thanks, I got your emails, but you know, didn't see them until after the fact.
I sent it super, well, we scheduled again for the 10th, I think, 2 weeks. We're trying to do short meetings, you know, every other week for a little while, and then
that's awesome.
figure out a
And
good cadence.
Yeah, as I said, I you know, I just like to be informed, and if I have the time, you know, we'll see. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments, questions? No? Okay, then hearing no objection, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.